aldermen don't, they're supposed to do what the aldermen say, and through the mayor and through the CEO.
Yep.
I think a big smile come across his face because he's not ill.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, I know what you mean. He said, well, that's why I'm standing. That's why I'm standing.
Well, they've all, I think they've done a good job. I'm quite pleased with everyone's been presenting. Now, this is live, so it's recording. I'm just trying to make sure we're set up and ready to go. Do you get the internet on your telephone?
On my phone?
Yeah. Like, could you go to YouTube and see if it's actually...
I don't know how to do YouTube.
All right, well, that's all right. Can you get on there?
Yeah. I
can get onto YouTube if you just log in.
I get my messages on here, the same as my iPad,
yeah, like your emails and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you in?
I'm there. Look,
Okay.
There's the email. Is that it doing?
Yeah, well, we should be able to get onto the actual internet from there.
Yeah, that's all you like.
Yeah, with big on that.
Yes, correct.
Search. Go to YouTube. My phone doesn't work on the internet. Oh, I'm still in that thing. Let's get out of that. Okay. Why can't I find the switch? I wish I was better at technical stuff.
I'm better than me.
I'll go to Steam. That might be more computer.
That might be, yeah.
working.
Huh?
They got it on their phone, it's showing up.
Oh,
So they said the camera needs to be closer to the speaker. So let me work out how I'm going to do that. I need some record. I need one of those bars. I'll put it on a chair on top of the table. Actually. Get it side up. Too much. They said, you're saying they're more than I do. Can you, oh, just plug it in here and I'll unplug it. You just hold. Oh. That's better. So that was the focus kept flipping in and out, and he said, it's because the camera's too far away, so let's see if it keeps going in and out. We're going in and out, so that's right.
will it be able to get light up there into?
Reflects on the screen.
Yeah.
I don't think we can.
Can't
These
do
lights
much.
are probably all on the same
Yeah,
screen.
well, I guess.
Yeah. Look, it won't matter too much. I think once we get the thing up, it will be working.
Here, you've got this cord here, you've got to put into, don't forget.
Oh, yeah. I didn't leave myself enough space. How can I do that on the right side?
Those candidates,
Yeah.
they'll get pictures of anything.
Yeah, they will.
They did
Yeah.
it last night.
Yeah, they will. I see all the candidates seem very friendly with each other from different things. That's the thing. Yeah. But yeah, they were made up for the first forum in Port Macquarie before the fifth one entered. So we never did get a name tag for the fifth one. That's can't help that. Margot did those, and I don't know how to make up name tags like that.
Is the doctor coming?
No, he can't make it because I was counting on him to bring his laptop.
I
Yeah.
text her, he mustn't be coming.
Oh.
Oh, no, no, no. Yes, I think, I think believe that's one of the things that meeting is online.
Yeah,
That's wrong. Why is that coming from a pre-acceptance?
yeah, it's definitely on. We don't know if Peter's coming, but everybody else.
Yes, no, we should definitely know. We don't want to know if Peter
Yeah, 23rd. No, a new God, a new God, new God. How that new God that came in and belonged to the big Yeah, 7 gates.
gates.
Yeah, even gates.
His name is Stephen Gates. Yeah, and he I always got somewhere we were talking about see what we've done in the past, this guy who was doing this, I couldn't believe what I was listening to. One of the things, I think it was our time to circle and he carried by himself and he would say, well, this thing is unbelievable. Absolutely. What he's done in this past. You see that that's good and okay. Now, are you talking to people in the office? In the office? All of the three persons. One thing that go back to I just said to her, that's all. Yeah. She was on time. But she had come on with that when I got ours. Okay, bye-bye. You'll have to come to the main one, but he's going somewhere.
Oh,
He's away, he's gone away.
right.
And I said, I come home, I'm going to Sydney on Friday,
Oh,
and I come home that morning,
yeah.
which I usually don't have the time, but I was going to study on home, so I could come to the, I'll be able to see the conference.
Oh, plastic chair, can you?
Yes, no, I can see it.
Okay.
What's those sheets about?
People who are reading out the questions, I'm telling them to print out so they know when the question comes up. And then I'll form
So
it.
all of these are entitled to the one again.
Now, the questions coming from the audience, or the ones that are
Oh,
coming
yeah.
to us beforehand, yeah. So then I call out their name, they'll come up to the screen and read the question. But I'm giving them the agenda so they know when the question will come up. And hopefully when they arrive, they'll declare themselves and I can give them the and when the public start to arrive, would you mind checking them off the guest list? They're very close to alphabetical order by full name.
So I need to get myself up there somewhere, don't I?
If you don't mind.
So everyone that comes in, yeah.
Some of them, like, they're all surnames and their initials.
Yeah.
Some of them are bringing a person with them, that's a time series. And there's some names over on this side that they can skip.
The candidates don't need to sign in.
No, they don't. And it doesn't really matter because we've got about 20 seats extra anyway. And if they rock up without being on there, that's fine.
No, it's all right.
Tell them to help themselves to a seat. I don't think it'll be overflow. You can have that agenda and question list for yourself. You can't need it.
No, this box here, you can put it under the table.
Oh, yeah.
Is Bruce coming?
I don't think so. I don't remember he said Wednesdays are bad for him.
Yes, he does go.
Yeah.
Should we be having our masks on now? When you, yes,
It's all right when we're on our own, but we put that on double back.
oh, yes.
I don't know what jacket to wear.
You need the jacket though, you got cold.
It's starting to cool down. I think I got lost because I was moving all the stuff around.
How's your auntie getting on down there on the south coast?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Going through the garden, just idea on my cousin has been absolutely dreadful forward to him.
Your cousin?
Yeah, the one that's fixing after I've got it.
Oh,
He's been taking advantage of her and joking her,
oh,
taking the money out of her account,
you're joking.
and it's hard to convince him on what he's doing.
Is he still doing that?
Yeah. But it's just amazing that the authorities don't really, and there's all these pronouncements about how they look after older people.
And
Because
that's all good.
you have dementia.
Oh,
Nobody's doing it.
Lord.
Because she loves it.
Oh, it's her son, is it?
So,
Oh, how old is Auntie?
85. It's really sad. It's really upsetting for the whole family.
Yeah.
We can't do anything. Well, we're trying to. We've got a hearing next Tuesday over the telephone,
Yeah.
but I'm going to go down there so I'm with my family. I'll do it on the internet.
Yeah.
So we can put on a united front because all the rest of the family want him gone. But he's hanging on to the money. He's got to get the carers payment every day.
Oh, really?
He lives there rent free and uses the money for all his own expenses.
And the care
Yeah. And of course he's in the will, so he's waiting for it to die so he gets nothing anymore.
How old is this place?
He's never done much of his life and he's always just like so it's not a good opportunity. He was living in Hong Kong with his wife and he was lucky enough that he worked harder and a lot of money and just put on his arm. When he found out his mum was sick, he thought she was about to die, so he rushed right out here. Before she was going to get her hospital.
So he has a wife in Hong Kong?
Yeah. Yeah. She's got plenty of money, but she's not going home.
No.
She's Asian. She's hangs on to her cat. Yeah, it's been very upsetting. On this corner, if you would please do it. Yeah, put it here. Shouldn't move the part anymore, but maybe screensaver never. Does that have a USB plug in? Or just the phone? That is the phone. You could definitely double that. Oh, no. If you double that with a USB plug. But I think my computer will last without charge for a couple of hours.
Mine's fully charged, so maybe you'll need to swap them.
Yeah. Oh, working.
Yeah.
Here's my USB. We can make something like this.
You're one of those as well.
Oh, it doesn't go in.
No.
Thanks, Stuart.
So that's the mouse that I need to.
Yeah. With you.
What are you looking for? A powerful. Yeah, he's got one. Another car slow down. Yes, I'll keep it on.
And please your
Oh, should they meet the candidate?
I wonder what you're looking for.
meet the candidates community for. Got the empty in the bottom as well, and I just minimise it, so if you need it, just keep it on here. Yeah. There's more slides, so can we use that? Perfect. Oh, perfect. We just got to use the arrow button.
So it'll be literally now. 1 minute before.
And it'll be right till you get to the end, and then you'll have to
Come back again.
perfect.
Thank you.
That's all right, no problem.
Yes, it's just one spot, isn't it? So if I press there, then we go to the first. Is that the first one?
That's the first one. Here's the list here.
Yeah, I forgot that. Eighteenth first now. Then the next one will go there. And today.
So once you get to the end of your row,
Yes.
you're going to have to go
Okay,
all the way back.
to She's got that set up. I saw it in the You don't know how to do that, but you've done all of this with it.
I know the nugget is on the line. Yeah, so so the slide will be at level 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's not going to get to the questions you'll be keen to solve for the minute. But a minute's a long time.
Oh, yeah, that's 60 seconds to do that.
I'll get myself another drink. Giving this mouse back to me. Oh no, I should be back there.
Yes, yeah, here it is.
Put his mouse in this one. Get back. Feet on it. So I don't think it. Get me a drink. You want a drink? A coffee? Yeah. Yeah, I can read it. Wonder why it's back to front.
Let's take the front. On there.
On camera, yeah. John Bailey's written backwards.
Yeah.
But it wasn't when we did it the first time. Maybe when they see it at the other end, it comes out the right way around. I don't know.
Is that wishful thinking?
Probably.
16 shepherds here of Inkerman and Eastern Church. Something wrong there. That's Susan Jones.
I think I saw him over at the restaurant.
Yeah, right.
I know, Stephen. Well, there was a, huh?
Pardon me, but it's pretty
You
cool.
see, yeah, that's why I thought it was him because I thought, oh, see that guy's tall and I thought, oh.
Okay. I think I did that. I'll go and say hello.
Is this going to say this every second seat that we
Well, they assure me that they're all right under double vax laws.
I was just checking the light because there's nothing worse than your eye. I can't see
Yeah.
Mind you, if I actually brought my glasses occasionally, that will also help.
That's good.
You know, it's going to be adjusting this time and time again.
I do is move it from here.
That's not going to get too loose, but middle is open for.
Yeah, I know. I'll be sitting there, so I'll
There you
keep an
go.
eye on it.
Well, for us short people, it's okay as well. I
Yeah.
think. But you need to have it lovely where you know,
Yeah.
adjust the constants. That's okay.
I can't get any sound. I'm not hearing the
Oh,
sound.
really? Where's your other assistants?
No,
Mertz.
no,
Can I
can't
call
make
it Mark?
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
He's doing his doctoring tonight.
and is he doing that thing again, fading in and out?
Is it?
Well, it was a
Is it?
second ago.
One of the other fellows tell me as long as we're in the same place, it should be all right. That's why we moved the camera closer. We said it was doing it last time because the camera was too far away.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, good. I just want to make sure we're doing. I noticed on the list that we're first. So that's just a random
Hastings
selection.
first.
Hastings first.
Yeah.
First.
We've tried to mix it up between each forum so everyone gets different places.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, good.
Oh, let me give you the list of questions. Oh, well, we're all up here anyway.
Oh, have they changed?
No, they're the same.
Oh, good. Let's see what
Yeah.
that would be useful for 3 councils.
Exactly, but we'll get it out of the way in that way.
See how ready they get.
Yeah. No worries.
Are these some more to go out if
No, we're just-
necessary?
So we just spare one, so I'll put in place.
Put them down here.
I put them out just in case for the candidates. And the ones with all the names on them.
I didn't, where are they?
I moved.
Where did you put them? So whose names are on them?
All the people who are asking the questions. They'll also be on our guest list. Maybe I'll put them up there next to the guest list.
So you were telling me the one week will surcharge was $600 for fire.
Yep. Yeah, incredible, isn't it?
So is it, do you think there'll be any controversy between Bonnie Mills and like
Yeah, because Lake Cathie said they wanted to host their own forum. They're really good for me. They always have them. Whenever I've contacted them and you know, how they but Bonnie Hill said, can you host this for us at Bonnie Hill? And I said, yeah, that'd be great. You know, how much is $600? So they're already have Bonnie Hill forum in Cathie. With Lake Cathie complaints while they're saying it. But Bonnie Hill forum is just about the use of the forum. Hello? Can anyone hear me? Is anybody watching? There's one person watching. Is that us? Yep. Hey Margot, hang on a sec.
people that are coming that haven't registered, you don't need their name.
Margot, I think we're all up and running. Would you mind going on YouTube and so that you can see that you're on? We've been brought. Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's on. You'll find it underneath the candidates at Lake Cathie. Yeah. Yeah. The picture quality looks fine, but I can actually hear it. But then I couldn't hear it last time. No, he couldn't make it. Yeah, we got listen and brought a computer person with us. Meet your candidates at Lake Cathie. Yeah? Can you see me? Right, I just stood in front of it. Can you hear me? I am talking. Oh, can you hear me? I know I don't have the mic on, but it should be able to pick me up anyway. Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. And this is using my modem because of the lousy one here. Oh, yeah. Excellent. And I haven't got the mic on yet, so that's good. People are just starting to come in now. We had over 50 RSVPs, so it hasn't started to rain yet, so it'll be getting a full house. Is it moving in and out again, is it? No, it is. I was doing that clicking. I'll move closer to the camera because someone told me that's why it was doing that last time. Yeah. Probably because. Yeah. It is a bit, isn't it? Yeah. I know there's a bank of lights that I can't turn off, unfortunately. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Very good. Thanks, Mark. Yep. Yep. That'd be great. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Well. Well, one of them's you. Yeah. All right, Margot. Thanks. That's because I moved away. I think it only does it when someone moves out of focus. Well, thanks, Margot. Bye. Stephen, how are you? Good, thank you. I think we're allowed to shake hands. Oh, it's been pretty horrible. I've had family problems. Yeah. Oh, well, this is much more pleasant. Yeah. Thanks for organising this.
Sorry, not.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good.
Let me put my mask on and things.
Oh, yes, I'm a bit hard to talk to. Wondering if I can commandeer a table for a petition. I know it's a little bit into it, Hastings residents. We're trying to buy this land, or ask the government to buy this land. So, 127 rooms, right?
You want to use?
Oh, it's just a bit cheeky and just grab that table.
get a copy of the questions from the guy? Oh, okay. The guy was waiting to put one out of the counter for you.
No problem. Did it before I came in.
You know what order you're in then?
I'm number 2.
Okay. It'll take about 45 minutes before we get to that point.
Okay.
Here, I've got like all the parents will be introducing themselves is at the start, so it takes about 40 minutes to get through and then go.
Well, we're coming so wonderful early. Can't wait.
I wanted to ask about community hall funding, as not the fact that our community hall is not just made building upon. Is it possible to add that to the end of this year or? Signage on here, but I thought it's probably relevant to someone else to do it.
We've got a lot of questions coming up.
Right.
We've got currently got 7 on the gym,
Yes,
and we hope to take a couple on the floor.
yes, so I could be clear.
Yeah, that should be forward. If that doesn't work,
Yeah,
give me a question before you go home.
right, it's only written out in hand, but that's
That's
what I'm.
fine. I've got a table over with the wall, and I'm going to tell people, if you don't put the question on, write it down, give it to me. We'll email it to the candidates on the telephone number.
You know, I need to sign because I do it before.
Just put your name.
Yeah, okay, terrific.
But
Thanks, Steve.
please get a chance on the call, but if not, bring it to me and I'll come in.
Thanks very much. Hi, Greg.
Hello.
I'm Kathy Regan.
Hey, Stefan, nice to meet you.
Yes, thank you for all this.
No worries. Did you get the list of questions from?
I don't really print one off.
Okay, so you know what number you are.
Yes.
Have you got a copy of the agenda?
No, so I'll put it back and get it.
Yeah, go and get that. That gives you an idea of what will come up. We'll be having introductions first, to share about 40 minutes from the agenda, and then I'll call your name.
No worries.
And who was going to ask that other question?
Roger Bell, so he's already doing.
I think that is question. I'll call you when we get up to it.
Yes, so I wasn't sure which one I'm going for. Yes, nice to meet you, Greg. Thank you. That's your job anyway. Yeah.
Okay. Everyone hear me all right? Oh, really? I thought it was on. How's that? Hear me? Okay. All right. Welcome to the Meet the Candidates Forum tonight. I'm Greg Franks. I'm president of the Hastings Residents Association. Just before we get started, you will find if you have questions tonight, we might not have time to get through them all. We've already got half a dozen questions on the agenda. We will try and take some more questions from the floor as we go. If you want to ask a question and you don't get a chance to ask it tonight, we have a table over there in the corner where there is paper and pens. Write it down, give it to me before you leave, and I will send it off to the candidates and we'll get an answer for you within a few days, and we'll publish that on our Facebook page. Also over there on the table next to that is a petition in regard to 147 Ruins Way. For those of you who don't know, there's been a proposal for the state government to buy the land and make it part of the nature reserve. If you're interested in that, you'll find the petition there. And we also have over on those tables forms if anybody wants to join the Hastings Residents Association. Now, tonight we're going to begin with introductions from all our teams of candidates who are all here with us tonight. And they will be given 5 minutes each group of candidates. We have 7 groups altogether to introduce themselves individually and give you an outline of what their policies are. And after that, we'll move on to the questions and answers. So first up tonight, we have Hastings First. Nick.
Okay, 1, 2, you can hear me okay? First of all, I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered on Biripi land. I pay respect to the Biripi elders, both past and present. I also extend that respect to all other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are present. Good evening, my name is Nick, or Nico, Nick James, more commonly known over my past 18 years in the Port Hastings area. Obviously worked 15 of those 18 years on radio with 2MC Triple M, more recently with Radio 531, and also spent a few years with Holiday Coast Credit Union in between. However, Nick James is a middle and first name, but it's a stage name. Lipperback, from my European heritage, is the last name. So when you get to the polling booth, you look at the ballot paper. For the mayoral candidate, you'll see down at number 5, Nick Lipperback. So you won't see Nick James, so to speak. And of course, Group B as well is where you'll find us on the candidates' paper as well when you're going into votes. So first of all, to introduce myself, having, as I mentioned before, 18 years in the local area, starting off with a lot of work at Radio 531 in promotions as an announcer, and a bit of sales work in there as well. A lot of community engagement. Ran the first 10 years of Give Me 5 for Kids, which is the hospital fundraiser, which ran every June. Drove that, got all the events organised, all the fundraising activities, etc., and ended up close to $500,000 over those 10 years. From there, doing community engagement work with the Holiday Coast Credit Union under Neville Parsons, was fantastic. From there, moving into Radio 531, doing sales, having picked up a couple of business awards, also Sporting Volunteer Award for my work with junior and senior cricket over the last 15 years, where I've played, coached, selected, managed, club secretary, association president for a year there as well. So I've been heavily involved in the local community, so to speak, over many years. 2 kids, both adults now, 17 and 20, married 22 years. and a lot of involvement naturally in the community, as I mentioned before. So I would like to introduce a few members of our team. First of all, with 30 years of business experience, Kerry Fox, if you'd like to come up and say just a couple of words quickly.
Hi everyone, and thanks for coming tonight. My name's Kerry, and as Nick said, I've been around in big business or large business for about 30 years. And what my passion is the community. The passion is justice, doing the right thing, listening to the community, and actually following through on things that we've actually said to the community we will do. The other thing is transparency. We need to have a transparent council that actually says what shows what's going on, and also we need to have really, really good governance, and particularly a council that is known for its outcomes. And I think we're all here. There's a lot of great candidates tonight, and what's good about it is we're all sailing in the right direction. We're all sailing forwards to say, this is what our community needs now. Things have changed. There's a lot of new people coming in, and we know what we need to do. And we just got to get on and do it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Kerry. Our number 3 on our list is Linda Lenord, who has been in education for the past 30 years in the Hastings region, also works with disadvantaged youth. So you might want to say a few words.
Hi, I'm Linda, and I've lived here for about 30 years. I think everybody in this room is passionate about this area. That goes beyond saying. We're all passionate about how the area is developing, and I know that population growth and housing is very important, but also economic development is important. We've got a world-class university in the area, we've got world-class businesses, and we've got great people. And I think just joining all those things together to make our area a smart area, halfway between Sydney and Brisbane, ready for a really good workforce here. So thank you.
Thank you, Linda. The number 4 on the list, Michael Clark, who is from Wauchope and has been there for 40 plus years and works in the finance sector. Good evening. Thank you for coming tonight. I'm about myself, other than the fact that I've had a lot of experience in finance and lending and education to some degree. What I want to do is I want to throw something back to you that's come out recently, and I want to ask you a question. When you look at all these candidates here, I want you to dig a little bit deeper. That's your responsibility as a voter. Go to each one of these candidates, find out their industry, find out their background, look at them, ring the professional people that work with them, ask about their integrity and their values. It's easy. I deal with solicitors and accountants every day. That might be good or bad. Real estate agents, a lot of different stakeholders. Ask them what I'm like. That's all I say. Thank you. You need to wrap up. Thank you, Michael. And finally, number 5, John Hardy, who will come along and have a quick chat. Heavily involved the last 2 decades in infrastructure.
Hi there, I'm Justin Hardy. I'm relatively new to the area, been in the area since 2017. I've got a very young family. I'm very interested in issues that affect young families. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So there you have it. Infrastructure, finance, education, business in general, media and communications. So we like to think we bring lots of different skills and experience to our group together. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nick. Next we have John Bailey.
Hi everyone, I'm John Bailey. I'm running as an independent, and you'll notice that on your ballot sheets when they come out. I will be the only independent on the far right hand side, so it's crucial that you do vote below the line and number your boxes in preference of who you want as your councillors. Anyway, I've been in the Hastings for over 40 years. Met and married a local girl here 35 years ago, 2 grown adult children. I've been part of the sporting community ever since I've been here, through coaching, playing, refereeing, you name it. I'm running for council because of the concern I have for our population growth and our infrastructure, road network, water security, sewage, not keeping up or keeping pace with our growth. yeah, and I think our next council, it's crucial that we get the right mix of people to head us in the right direction. I've worked as a news cameraman in the area for 36 years with a local television station, so that affords me the opportunity to travel our local government area consistently and be in touch with the community, know the community concerns. I've obviously done many stories on Illaroo Road, Lake Cathie, Oxford, Ghost Road, intersection there, vital infrastructure that we need fixing. So, yeah, that keeps me in touch with the community, and I'm keen to put my hand up and be a voice for you guys. Thank you.
Next, we have Stephen Gates.
I always seem to be the one that stuffs the microphone up for everyone else, unfortunately, so I'm going to apologise to whoever's behind me. Thank you. My name's Stephen Gates. One of the things that struck me as I drove down here in Bonnie Hills was how the service that you get here gets worse. The further you come south, the worse it gets. You go south from here, the worse it is. Bit of background for me. Moved here in 2016. My wife has her own legal practice in Port. Two young girls. Originally started off at Huntington School, a very tiny school. They're now with St. Columba. Very proud to they're lovely girls. My background is start off as a digger in the army. Private, I was fortunate to get to the Antarctic when I was 19, and that set up a lifelong passion in expeditions, pushing myself, raising money for charity. After that, I then went back to university, quite unusual, did a Bachelor of Business in Tasmania, went and specialised as an industrial advocate in industrial relations for 5 years, and from there I was poached as National Human Resource Manager for a variety of companies. I have a lot of experience in managing performance, and if the person is not the right person, you manage them out of your business. One of the key things that I see with council, and I talk from a lot of experience, is that we need to get rid of some of the council. One of the things that we did here in the last 3 years was I set up an association called Port Macquarie Hastings Community Against Ratepayer Exploitation. I spent a solid year of my life analysing council. Thankfully, my wife's a little bit supportive of that. And that's allowed me to gain a detailed understanding as to what's going wrong, but to understand why it's going wrong. And with my senior management experience, what we need to do to fix it. It's a huge task. And as mayor, you have limited capacity to get operational change. You must do that through a team of councillors, and I applaud my colleagues here tonight and the positions that they take. It will be a long process. In terms of me, I accept no donations. I hold no favours to anyone. My sole interest is you. I should be accountable to you. You should be able to come to me, and we should be able to resolve the problem. Fairly simple. I remember the days when you'd walk up the main street, you'd shirt front the councillor, and you resolve an issue. That doesn't happen anymore, and I think that's a great shame. I'll take you later to our website. We have 8 pages of policies and positions on that, as well as the first 100 days of office. I'm only running for mayor, not councillor. Thank you very much.
Next, we have the Greens.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to applaud Stephen for adjusting this properly. As a musician, I can't stand it when people just yank on this because it weakens the mechanism. Anyway, thanks for being here tonight, everybody. I'd like to acknowledge that we're on bureaucratic lands and acknowledge elders past, present and emerging. And the Greens support the Uluru Statement from the Heart. My name's Lauren Edwards, and I'm running on the Greens ticket. I'm the lead candidate on the Greens ticket with three other lovely folks who you'll meet shortly. I've lived, worked, and studied in the Hastings area now for just over 22 years. I've raised a daughter who's now 19. I'm a small business owner. I have 3 small businesses actually, which keeps me very busy. Very passionate about social justice and environmental issues, as you would expect, being with the Greens. Very proud of that. And in council, we're running with the aims to improve biodiversity in our region, to act on climate change, to improve the situation with social housing and affordable housing, and also to actually get this active transport. We keep hearing about active transport, and Stuart's a great expert on that for us, to kick that off and have that happening in the Hastings, to reduce congestion and improve our lower emissions and a greener, healthier space. So next up is Stuart from the Greens.
Thanks so much. I'll lean to the microphone and not adjust it. My name's Stuart Watson. I'm a small business owner and a renewable energy consultant. I've been involved in the energy industry for 25 years, having worked for Essential Energy. And I'm standing, due to the urgent need for real action on climate change and for us to live a better life. We can see the effects of climate change around us with the droughts, the bushfires, the coastal revetment, the coastal effects here on Uluru Road. Years ago, I built my own electric vehicle. I'm passionate about electric transport. We're now living with human-induced climate change, and the effects have been predicted for years. We owe it to our children and all the species to act decisively and immediately to limit the damage. We've got the skills and the inventiveness. The rubber hits the road here with council, and Greens on council will give you some action on climate change. A little bit of my history. I moved here in 1974. I raised 3 children at Balangri. When I moved there, there was 6 timber mills and 5 houses. Now there's Change Australia and the Energy Forever renewable energy project based in Port Macquarie. I've got an electronics and communications engineering certificate. I've got a graduate diploma in business management, and I'm a state member on the Solar Energy Industry Association. I'm a proud Green, and I will now introduce Drucy Meggitt, our 3rd candidate. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Drucy Meggitt. I've lived in Port Macquarie since 1994. I came with my family, with 2 children who did all their schooling, and I've been a high school teacher, a computer analyst programmer, and a TAFE teacher. My subjects are maths and science. I'm passionate about the environment. If we don't look after the environment, we're not looking after where we live. So it's our self-interest to look after the environment. And tourism is the biggest industry in this area. So you can't have a tourism industry unless we keep the water clean and the air clean. So it's a very important time at the moment. And I won't go on about climate change, but our lives are going to be very difficult unless we turn this around. Les come up, and so Les Mitchell, he's our 4th candidate, and he'll tell you all about his.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this forum tonight. My name is Les Mitchell. I've only been here for 4 years. I came here in my retirement. I have a professional background in landscape ecology, having worked for the National Parks and Wildlife Service for 26 years. I've been involved in quite a few organisations here, including I'm president of the Port Macquarie Land Care Group, and with the Hastings Birdwatchers, Friends of Coolumbung Creek, Climate Change Australia. My main focus in helping with our campaign to have someone on council is ensuring that our areas are going to be properly managed in the future. Port Macquarie has some outstanding, Port Macquarie Hastings has some outstanding bushland areas. You know what you've got around here. And I want to ensure that council's policies ensure that those areas are properly managed for the future of all our generations living in Port Macquarie and Hastings area. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Team Shepherd.
Don't do this otherwise. Just timing, so we respect our time. So my name is Rachel Shepherd and I'm running as a candidate for Mayor, but I'm also running as the head candidate for Team Shepherd, Group E, for Sensible Sustainable Progress. So I'll introduce myself, then I'll let Greg, Linda and Ethan introduce themselves, and then I'll take a minute to tell you what we stand for. So my name is Rachel Shepherd. I grew up locally at Papenborough and I've just moved back a couple of years ago to start my own family. I live in Bonny Hills now. So I'm a mother of a 3-year-old, I'm wife to Jake, I'm daughter of Glenn and Cathie, I'm a soccer player, a beer drinker, a meat eater and a psychologist. Locally is my trade. And I'm a passionate advocate for local farmers. So in 2019, I started engaging with council specifically around the issue of climate change. And my focus was trying to make sure that council operations and community planning were taking climate science into account. And it took me a little while to find my feet in terms of the best way to approach that. But pretty quickly, I found that my usual way of approaching difficult conversations was a fantastic way to approach climate conversation in our community. It's just about being respectful, solutions focused, action focused, and really understanding what people are about and interested in. So that's been wonderful. And in that process, community engagement with council as community ambassadors is how I met Greg. So I'll hand it over to him to introduce himself.
Thanks, Rachel. So I'm Greg Freeman. I come from Port Macquarie, but don't hold that against me. Why would I make a good councillor? Why should you vote for me as part of this team? Well, I'm a good listener. I've got a science background, so I understand complex technical issues such as the ones we're facing with how to deal with Lake Cathie in the long term. I've had a business for 25 years in Port Macquarie, so I understand staffing, I understand the economy and business and how that relates to all of us. And most importantly, I've been an active community member. I've been involved with the Chamber of Commerce in Port Macquarie on the board for 2 years, the Aquatic Centre Committee that we're developing up, and also on the school board when my kids were at school. So as part of Team Shepherd, I'd really love your support, and that's why you should vote for me. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Linda Elborn. I've lived in Hastings and surrounding areas for 26 years. 10 of those years were actually spent here in Cathie. My children went to school Camden Haven, so yeah, spent a lot of time here. First 20 years in the area, I worked in a corporate environment, management roles, project management, very much business focused. I'm Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce in Port Macquarie. So I've got a good understanding of local business needs. But probably for me, the biggest connection to my community happened 4.5 years ago when I started working and learning in the disability space. I absolutely love what I do, and it's really opened my eyes to the community that I live in, and I really want to be able to give more to it. So I'm running with Team Shepherd.
Hello, my name's Ethan Francis. I have been living in Port Macquarie since I was 15. I'm currently studying at CSU, and I'm studying a Bachelor of Environmental Science and Management. Now, I'm kind of sick of talking about myself, so I'm probably not going to do that much. But I will give you a message. So you guys all know, and you've probably heard it a million times before, but you're not voting for yourselves, really. You're voting for your grandchildren and your children's grandchildren. You're voting 50 years from now. And nobody's told me to say this. This isn't some kind of setup thing. It's just what it is. But you should. I just really want to drive home that message that you should all really consider who you're voting for these next 50 years. Because Lake Cathie, the lake that you guys all love, is a really good example of what happens when it's not managed properly, when your environment is not managed properly. So yeah, thank you.
We couldn't tell him what to say if we tried. But look at us. So we spent, I tell you how many decades, But in one way, that's what we stand for. We stand for balance. And yes, it's balance in different opinions, but it's also balance in that economic, social, and environmental sense. And we know that that's what's fallen behind with council over a long period of time. I know from my gut that that's what we need into the future. And tonight you're going to hear us talk about how we apply our principles and platform to specific issues. But I want you to know that's what we believe from our gut, that the balance is needed between that social and economic and environmental bent. What that means when I'm talking to very hard environmentalists is they're not always happy about my focus on economic development as a way to prosperity and well-being for our community. But likewise, when I'm talking to the business and development community, they're not always happy about how I'm banging on about we've got to do this in a sustainable way, right? And that's what we need. We need someone in the centre who's willing to have those conversations, those difficult conversations, in a respectful way. And that's what I think I bring to the table as one of your candidates for mayor. Thanks, Greg. Good evening, everybody. I am your current mayor. I am soon to be the incumbent, and I'm re-standing for re-election. I'm asking for my job back. And firstly, I'd like to acknowledge my husband sitting up the back there, because if it weren't for him, I don't think I could have got through the last 4 years. It has been a rough ride, let me tell you. I put my hand up for council because I wanted to make a change. I wanted things to be better. I wanted our council to be more receptive to their customers, which is all of us, the ratepayers, the residents who live in this community. I've been disappointed in this council. I've been disappointed because I haven't had a team to work with me. I haven't had the opportunity to actually show any of you what I'm capable of. I'm so lucky to have that team come into this election with me and Team Pinson. I'd like to firstly acknowledge that Sharon Griffiths does send her apology to you all tonight. I'd like to start though with number 2 on Team Pinson ticket, which is Adam Roberts. You could just stand up and give him in the way. I'm so grateful to have this man, not only in my life as a friend, but he's a really solid individual as far as the way he thinks. He's a lateral thinker. He's not emotional. He thinks it through. And it's very much like my husband, actually. He's a lateral thinker and he's a rock for me. And I do bounce things off when I've had a bad day. With Adam, he's been on council before. And he's been in the situation, not as mayor, but as a councillor that I've been in as mayor, which is he had no support apart from Councillor Sharon Griffiths. I have had only the support of Councillor Sharon Griffiths for the last 4 years. And, together with Sharon and with Adam, we bring experience into council of actually knowing where the breaks are and knowing where the faults lie. And more importantly, we know what it's going to take to fix them. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Danielle Maltman, another incredible lady. Did live here at the lake, president of Revive Lake Cathie. Her absolute anyone that knows Danielle, she's an individual who just goes into everything with great gusto, and she thinks the best about people too. She's learnt a little bit along the way as far as people's agendas, and she's learning that through this campaign trail. But I admire her. I admire her for standing up for this community and for the environment and for the lake and the creatures that live in it and for the enjoyment of it that we all desperately want. And lastly, not leastly, I'd like to introduce you to a young entrepreneur, Josh Slade. Josh, family business in Warhope, lives in Botting Hills, a family man. And talking about generational, Josh has just had his first child, and I have grandchildren now too. And we all have children. Dan's got a little girl, and you've got 2 children too, Adam. And it's true. We have to think about our future generations. We can't be selfish for today. We have to also act for tomorrow. I should have had 4 years ago, so I can work for you.
and I can get things done, and I can achieve what it is that we're all wanting in this region. I'm asking for a number 1 and 1 only in the box for Team Pinson, so I can have a team behind me, and together, collectively, we can work in your best interests. If I wasn't running for mayor, I'd be voting for you, Stephen Gates. And I tell you why. Because he's a man that's aligned to the values I had when I went into council. I want to bring back core business of council. I want to get stuff done, and I don't want any blocking or stopping me in the future. Thank you so much. It's been an honour and a privilege to be your leader in these last 4 years, and I hope you reconsider me for the next 2 years, 8 months. Thank you.
Fighters for our region.
Thanks, Dave. I daren't touch this. Good evening. My name's Lisa Interman. I'm been Deputy Mayor for 6 years. I'm the head of Team A, or rather Group A, Fighters for our region. We've called ourselves because we believe that what we need here is real teamwork, people who are working together, allowing each other to have their own voices, to bring their intelligence, their innovative contribution to the group that is councillors in for our council. I am a mother, grandmother, I'm a scientist, I have a doctorate, I've worked in water pollution control, I've worked in environmental management. Through my long time in council, I have been intimately involved with all aspects of council, from transport to sewerage to housing. It is our goal to bring you 5 independent thinkers. We all have our own different points of view, but we are prepared to all talk together to discuss our differences and our commonalities. We have common values that we bring to this situation, which definitely involves respect for each other, respect for the community, and working not only with each other, but within council and outside in the community. We absolutely need to extend the linkages out into the community. I've been there for a long time. I've offered myself with great dedication to the community. I'm a quiet achiever. I am offering myself as mayor. I've never had the opportunity to show you how I can lead with teamwork, bringing people together. In our new council, we will have at least 6 new councillors. I have experience in the organisation, in the difficult job that there is in bringing issues to fruition. It is not easy. Everyone stands up here and says, I want to do so and so. It is not easy. Council is the lowest rung of government, closest to the people, most important but least powerful. I would like to now, first off, give my apologies for Narelle Milligan, our number 4. Narelle is a work-life coach, and she gives her apologies because she is currently up in Armidale at one of her, probably her, one of her last gatherings for the education department up there in Armidale. I would now like to introduce Kingsley Searle, who is our number 2. Thank you, Kingsley.
Hi, my name's Kingsley Searle. I've been engaged with the community in strategic thinking, creating long-term positive outcomes. God, that sounds good, doesn't it? For many years now. Basically, I've been called a vocal local. I've forged long-lasting relationships with our federal and state members, and that's a very crucial part to this council being successful in the future. I promise you commitment, good governance, and transparency. That's a really, really crucial one. Years now, I've worked as an electrical contractor, oyster farmer, and a technician with Telstra. It's a good chance I've had a couple with most of you in the room. Apart from my family, Vivian,
my wife, my son, daughter, and my grandsons, I don't think the achievement I'm most proud of is my involvement with the Royal Fire Service. I'm a life member of the North Shore Brigade, and I've been captain there for 15 years. I've been a brigade member for over 36 years, and obviously volunteering and giving back to the community is very close to my heart. I'm also a life member of the North Shore Progress Association and have been an oyster industry and community representative on the Council's Coast Estuary and Floodplain Committee for over 13 years now. So I know how frustrating council can be. The bottom line is I'm standing for council because I care. It's as simple as that. I've no pecuniary interests. Matter of fact, it costs a lot and puts a lot of time in. But that's the bottom line. You need to vote people who care. That's really what it's all about. Look, 1 minute, it's hard to get to know you, who I am and all the rest of it, but I've been around long enough. There's people in this room that me, a lot of you, talk to them. I'll stand by my reputation and my achievements in the past. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Stuart Cooper. I've been married to my lovely wife Patricia for over 34 years, and I live in Lake Cathie. I have a stepdaughter and 3 grandkids. I've been a CPA for over 25 years. I specialised in project and program management for 20 years, and I've been running my own companies for about 17 of them. I'm now semi-retired. I was a founding member of Saving Lake Cathie, and we've been focused on fighting for the reasons why the lake isn't getting fixed. And we've had, outside of that, a number of issues around Lake Cathie itself that we've also been involved in, such as the issues at Illaboo Road, Houston Mitchell Drive. I'm also on the Lake Cathie Council and Community Action Team, and I was involved in setting up our community plan. Secretary and Treasurer of the Hastings Photography Group, and I really got into running for this election because I wanted to see transparency. Transparency is one of the things that Lake Cathie has not seen a lot of from council. We've had motions raised to do things, and then a week later it doesn't happen. The reasons why things don't happen suddenly get twisted, and we're told one thing and it ends up being something completely different.
Running over time.
One of the other things I really want to see in Lake Cathie is our infrastructure picked up. We've got a lot of work that's got to be done out here. There's developments going on all over the place. We need the infrastructure to catch up. Thank you.
And Paul Bradford.
Just say hi, really.
Okay, I'm Paul Bradford. I've been here 6 years. A lot of you would know my business, Hastings Shuttle Service. My reason for wanting to get involved in council is A, I'm out on the road talking to people all day, every day. I just want to be able to carry that feedback I get from straight into council. And B, I grew up in Canberra. My dad was a career public servant at the highest level, and I grew up around that, managing Australia. So I have a good understanding of how government works. I have a good understanding of how this town works, although I'm relatively new, and I'd like to be involved in managing it.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll get on to the question and answers now. We have a number of questions on the agenda that have come in from the public, and then we'll take some questions from the floor as well. Each group of candidates will have 1 minute to answer those questions, and then we'll move on to the next one. The first question is a question a lot of you have wanted to ask. It's in relation to the Four Corners program on Monday night. So to make it easier, I will ask the question, and then we'll have each team give you a 1 minute answer to it. What do the candidates think about the sale of council land for development in sensitive areas such as Pacific Drive without transparency and full public disclosure, particularly when it involves people subject to ICAC investigations? What processes should council put in place to give the public much more confidence that council is acting in the best interests of the whole community when making such decisions? Hastings first.
Thank you, Greg. I too would also like to know the answer to that very long question in relation to the report on Monday night. Excuse me. Obviously, I know as much as you do in terms of what was reported in that investigation, so I don't feel I'm qualified enough to be able to be able to answer that question. However, it looked bad, it sounds bad. I'll leave it up to you to what you think has occurred in 2017. More importantly, I would obviously love to hear the answers that come through through our various candidates here tonight. Gives me an opportunity, however, to remind you that our team of 5, Group B, where again we're encouraging you to vote one above the line. We want to be your voice for your community, for your future. That's our slogan. Again, we've heard it numerous times this evening. Unity, transparency, getting things done is what we all want to do. When you consider that 3 of the members, 3 of the last councillors in any sporting organisation or team no longer want to be around, nothing wrong in that respect as well. Thank you.
John Bailey.
What was most concerning to me about the whole Four Corners expose was the whole process of the actual piece of land. It's not just a nature strip out the front of your house. It's 1,600 square metres. And when you look at the actual development, that's a fair slab of the whole development. So I would imagine if you were a councillor at the time, you should have done your due diligence, gone and had a look at that particular piece of land and gone, wow, that's almost 2 bowling greens. It shouldn't be just gifted to that developer. It should be at least, if that particular council wanted to sell it, put it up for auction or put it for sale and get the best value for our ratepayers out of that. It's a fair, substantial chunk of land in a prime piece of real estate at Rocky Beach. So the least that particular council should have done was go and have a look at the land and have a realistic view of like, wow, that's a fair slab of the footprint of what this developer wants to actually do and not gift it to them.
I don't know where they got it from, Steve.
That's certainly not me, I can assure you. I'd have to say he's probably a bit better looking than I am, but as it is. Look, the reply that I would have is, I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. And why am I not surprised? Bear in mind, I spent 3 years researching council. So there are roads that council will do work on, maintain them, put everything up, that they've never owned. Never will own. It's not even a public road. There's a recent case in the floods. They gravel resheeted someone's private driveway. Thank you very much. Guess who paid for it? Us. This council is also forcing ratepayers to purchase the road to their property and refusing to do any work on it. And that road is down here. It's at Northaven, Granny Bell Lane. Forcing them to give a right of carriage for the other properties that rely upon that road. So I'm not surprised, but I'm disappointed. And it is just another example of the paid council body being out of control and the elected council body not exercising due diligence. Thank you.
The Greens.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, I watched the program too, like most of you tuned in, and yeah, it was quite concerning. One thing you'll get when you vote Green is people that will never ever take donations from developers. Everything that we do would be absolutely transparent. The most concerning thing about this DA and his sale is that we've not seen any evidence that truly neighbours were really all approached. And that is something that I think we have to see to come from this.
A little bit of an unrelated point, but I certainly agree with Nico's point regarding when you have team players leaving a team or workers leaving a business, where you look at who's starting that culture there. So in regards to this specific question, what we really, I think, is a governance issue and an ongoing systematic issue of how council engages with the community around issues that they would reasonably expect that we would be interested in. So quite often we might get a little brochure in the letterbox telling us about something that's going on, but we don't necessarily understand the ramifications of that. One of the things that council needs to do a lot better is much more targeted community engagement with the people who are likely to be affected and who I think they could reasonably expect would be affected. In this scenario, what we're talking about is a piece of land that quite clearly our community would be interested in making sure would be dealt with appropriately and transparently. And I look forward to hearing the remarks of our remaining candidates. Well, quite shocking actually. I'll just lay some facts bare though, shall I? This decision behind closed doors was made on the 15th of March 2017. I was elected on the 29th of July 2017. I know that, it was my son's birthday. It was a happy day for him, but a happier day for me to be elected, let me tell you. And the thing is, I was not inducted into council until the 16th of August 2017. I was not in the room, but I have actually voted against things that haven't smelt right. And if they escaped out into the air, they wouldn't pass the pub test. There's only one person in the room here tonight who could probably answer any of those questions. But if they're not prepared to do so, the process is this. And I ask this of any one of you in the room or all of you. You put in a GIPA application. The GIPA application will be looked at, requesting all the documents available. And then when the new council comes in and is sworn in, it will be up to the new council to vote whether you're able to see those documents. You vote Team Pinson in and me as mayor, our whole team, we will vote yes, you should see those documents.
I was the only councillor here who was involved in that. I would like to say it was not gifted. It was at more over market value. I would like to say that councillors have no vote on whether or not a GIPA application is passed. That is a furphy. The matter, if I went back and had this decision again, as with various decisions over 20 years, of course, there are things that I have learnt from and I would go back and do it differently. However, there has been nothing illegal done by council regarding this matter. Yes, we should have gone out. We should have had more consultation with the community. But this was an operational piece of land. It would have caused, if it had gone to any other party, it would have caused that land that we were talking about with the development to be landlocked. It was absolutely an open and above board in terms of commercial in confidence decision. And yes, I would go back and do it differently. However, it was not the decision that had been made, because that was, of course, a beat up as far as they could take it. What made me sick was the fact that now, in terms of, for instance, Kangaroo Park over on the North Shore, where we did in fact deal with an operational piece of land, consulted with the community, and it was decided to use half for commercial purposes. I'm happy to speak with anybody later about this, but I just want to stress, no matter the slurs that might be put on me, there was nothing illegal here. Yes, I would do it differently in the part again by consulting with the community more. Thank you.
Considering that the Deputy Mayor has suggested, sorry to request, considering that the Deputy Mayor has made a suggestion that it is a furphy, may I have a very brief right of reply?
Sure.
I'm only asking for a right of reply because that's not true. I did speak to the CEO this afternoon, and through the OLG, that is the process that will need to happen. So there's no furphy about it. I don't tell furphies, I tell the truth. Gets me into trouble more often than not, but I'd rather live my life that way. I'd rather be able to sleep well. I'll also make this known that one of the councillors in that room too apparently went to school with one of the sons of Eddie O'P. I told you, one of the councillors. It's not false.
Okay.
It's not false at all, and it was
could I suggest that if anybody has got serious concerns about this, that you actually bring it forward in a formal complaint and we deal with it there. Councillors do not have control over GIPA applications. That is a furphy.
Okay,
We can see why there's no harmony in council, can't we?
we can. Okay, let's move on to some of the other questions now because we could be debating this all night. We have a question from Judy Love. Is Judy Love here? Hi, Judy.
Yes, I'm Judy Love. Bonnie built a house in Bonnie Hills in 74. Taught in Sydney until 93. My husband, my late husband, and I commenced working on the Bonnie Hills headland in 1993 or 4. His aim was to rid Bonnie Hills of weeds before he died, and well, we got maybe got getting much help at the moment. The person who has been bombarding council this year with suggestions and complaints. She now sends my letters to the CEO because this is what she has to deal with. Me. Now,
You asked me to.
my husband, no, you did it first. My husband and my son and I are carrying on my husband's work, and my son is taking photos, and so am I, of illegal campers in the area we've worked on for 30 years. And I have wonderful relations with the rangers and the weed officers at council. This is my question. Would you support increased ranger surveillance on weekends to stop illegal camping, tree destruction, fires and rubbish in the bushland on Grants Beach? The four-wheel drive decree of 40 kilometres an hour is not being observed. The four-wheel drivers do not have permits. On Sunday, I took photos of one illegal camper bogged. His mate came, he got bogged. 2 more came along over the dunes, fishtailing through the spinifex. They got them out. 4 of them back over the dunes, over the spinifex, out to the four-wheel drive access track. Why are four-wheel drives allowed on our beaches, our fragile environments? And this morning I observed a four-wheel drive driving all the way up the beach through the spinifex. I want to know, would any of you commit to, I mean, it's all very well, these campers camp the weekend. There are no rangers working at the weekend. They get away with it every time. We take photos of their number plates. We need to tell them how many people were in the car. What was the precise time? All of this. We need these rangers out there at those crucial times. Thank you.
That was Hastings first, sorry.
Okay, so the question that I've understood was, would you support rangers on weekends and nights to stop illegal camping? Yeah, and four-wheel drives on beaches, etc. Getting on top of issues like this is important. If you don't do anything, it only gets worse. But without being across employment conditions of rangers, in principle, it sounds like it needs to happen. It may be a suggestion to look at what local security firms that drive up and down the road nightly. I don't know how far they go on. It's on the beach, I understood. I thought it was closer. No, but the council might be able to contract them to surveil that a bit more. Yeah. So.
John Bailey.
Thank you, Judy, and thank you so much for doing all that weeding as well. Yeah, it's well, our rangers cover a massive area. There's a lot of beaches, a lot of forests, a lot of stuff to look after, and we have limited ranges and probably limited funds as well to employ a car ranger, especially overtime, whatnot. But also it's a policing issue as well. Like the police should be on top as well if there's illegal fire lighting, illegal camping. Yeah, that should be a policing issue as well. You ring the police? To no avail?
No, I haven't done it.
Yeah, yeah. But it should be a policing issue as well.
What,
But
they
there's,
come down
especially,
straight away? No, they're not gonna come down.
yeah, I know. So they're stretched as well.
6:30.
It's a difficult one. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's a tough one.
Stephen Gates.
So wrecking the microphone again for someone. It's a difficult one. Under council's existing policies, they permit four-wheel drive access to the beach, have budgets for it. So in some sense, the council needs to look at that and make a decision whether they want to keep doing it or stop it. In terms of enforcement, extremely difficult. Having one person out as a sole ranger at night, I have some concern about. Having said,
They don't drive on the beach, they walk.
yeah,
They like them on the beach.
appreciate that. I've done so many expeditions across Australia. I have a great affinity with the land, and when I walked across the Simpson Desert, I leave my footprints, and that's it. Whatever we take back out with us. It's disappointing that other people don't share that philosophy. I think one of the things that can be looked at is a 24-hour line, and there is one out of hours line with council. It can be phoned into them, and they should then direct it to the best person to deal with it, be it a ranger on call, or be it the police, or be it National Parks and Wildlife, to resolve the issue. So, thank you.
The Greens.
Yeah, thanks, Judy, and thanks for all your passion on this. I've got a confession to make. I'm a free camper. I travel in the van, and I'd like to actually think a little bit outside the square with this. We could do some signage to try and stop the four-wheel driving where it's not wanted. I'm the same. I like to leave no footprint of where I've been and really respect the environment. We could cater more effectively for these travellers. They're not going to go and stay in caravan parks. If we mostly locals, is it? Yeah, well then signage, okay. My thought was for the problems we have with free campers in Byron Bay and around through Port is to give them low-cost, minimal camping facilities. And it could be at the football club where we could charge $10 a night. People will stay there, obviously subject to the approval of the caravan park owners. They could come for the football club. You get people coming to the bowling club. So as far as local four-wheel drivers, yes, we need some signage and look at the cost of policing it more effectively, or possibly restricting four-wheel drive access. It's not such a big beach there. We could look at other areas that are, sorry? Right through to North Haven. Yeah, we'll restrict the end of the Bonny Hill end, the Bonny Hills end, if that's possible. Yeah, yeah. Just think outside the square and maybe try and turn some of it into an opportunity rather than a problem. Gives the four-wheel drivers somewhere else to go.
They have somewhere else to go. They can be at the top of Skyline. They can camp in camping areas around.
Signage in the first instance to educate them could be the first principle. Thanks for your question.
Team Shepherd.
Short answer. I don't know if you can hear me or not. I just sorry. Yes, but as the other teams have indicated, it's a difficult one, and we think the solution is probably more of a mixture. So increased monitoring. So there's lots of other councils around who are doing some really innovative things with motion sensors, cameras, those type of things. Education, as Stuart mentioned. Yeah, possibly some extra range of presence, physical presence, deterrence, fines, those type of things. We have to look after our environment. We have to find that balance. So it's a difficult question to answer with a straight yes or no, but in principle, yes, but definitely a bit of a mixture and looking at a solution that's going to work best, not just for this area, but there's lots of other areas in the Hastings that are facing the same problem, and we've got lots of committed residents that are doing just like you. So it's a matter of getting that engagement and trying to get a best size fit. So thanks.
Yeah, hi everyone, and yeah, thanks for the question, Biddy. Yeah, like most things, if it was a priority for the community, we would have to definitely look at it, just to define the solutions, and then to try and allocate the resources. So, in short, if there was enough priority, we would definitely look at it for sure.
Favourite for our region. Let me add it, you are me reincarnated. I'm from the North Shore. I got Point Plummer right up the end. And I'm the captain of the fire brigade. These guys illegally camp. There's no toilets. I mean, it's environmentally a disaster. The thing is, we've got to do something about it. The pressure we're getting, Qantas was advertising Point Plummer just before the COVID hit. We're getting more pressure now than ever before. The damage that's been done is a nightmare. Turtles are nesting on these beaches. Now, turtles here, really quickly, are really, really important. The turtles down here produce the males because of the temperature. There's not enough males being produced. We have turtles breeding all up and down these beaches. It's not a case of banning four drives. We don't want to see that, but they need to be policed. There's a real culture at the moment in the ranges, and I'll stand here and say it because I said it face to face. They issue warnings. We asked when we met with the mayor and Jeffrey in our regular meetings in the Progress Association, what are the figures for the rangers, and how many fines have they issued? Bugger all. It's always cautions. I don't buy a permit anymore. You'd be an idiot to buy a permit. We're training people to do the wrong thing. You can train them to do the right thing, and they did in Taree. It took them 6 months, but they hammered the beach. They taught people to do the right thing. Okay, it's a cultural thing. We also need to be smart. Nighttime, it's a pain. Where do you put the rangers? It's a large area. Be smart. We got cameras. When we know there's stuff happening in that, the other thing we need to do is work with the other associations, parkies. We're the same problem. The parkies are up there at different hours and they're working in together now. So we need to talk, but we need to talk and get this sorted.
We have Jeff Roberts here. Yes, sir.
Coming up.
Oh God, it's good to take that off. Evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Roberts. I'm told by my friends, acquaintances, neighbours that having lived in Cathie for 21 years, I am a mere newcomer. I admit it. However, I love our lake, and I know there's going to be a question about that. I don't fish in it anymore, unfortunately, for obvious reasons. But the other thing I want to complain about and ask questions about, the current road surface through Cathie and Bonny Hills is an absolute disgrace.
Yes.
Whilst Port Macquarie seems to benefit from road upgrades in specific locations, we're being left out of the picture. So what will all of you do to ensure our local roads are improved? Hastings first.
So in 2019, there's been traffic studies completed that have identified all the different intersections in this area in particular that need to be upgraded with the increased population, Evans Street, Avon Tasman Drive. The road corridor strategy is out. It's been out for consultation. It's identified all the areas along the coast here where the road needs to be upgraded and where there needs to be pedestrian crossings and road surface improvements, widths completed. So what needs to be done is there. It's in black and white. Council's done this. Will support getting the work done to deliver the roads, to deliver the corridor strategy, and wherever possible, we'll be looking at alternative modes of funding from other levels of government, explore every possible source to just get it funded and get it done, because we know what needs to be done.
John Bailey.
Jeff, I totally agree with your sentiments. You look around our road network, it's falling apart. Our population's only going to grow. You look at Kew, Kendall, Laurelton, North Haven, right through here. our roads are a disgrace, and it is very port-centric. I believe that. You look at the latest 10-point strategy plan of Ocean Drive. First, number 1 starts at Port Macquarie. Number 10 in the section ends at Kendall, Kew. That's the southern gateway to the Hastings. People come off the highway. What are they greeted with? Just a disaster zone. So I'm all for turning that around. Why not start number 1, our southern gateway end, and work our way into Port Macquarie?
Stephen Gates.
Thank you. Roads are something near and dear to my heart. I live at Biobar, and I'd have to say that I'm the recipient of the beneficial nature of council. They turned my local council unsealed road into a four-wheel drive access track and told me, my wife, and the other 2 houses that reside on the road that we needed to own a four-wheel drive to get to our property. When we talk about roads, there are 2 issues, and these are manipulated by the paid staff. The elected staff don't understand it. The first is there is supposedly a 3-step process to determine road repairs. That's the first. Council have never published it. You can't talk about transparency and integrity and performance management until you start giving these things to the public so they can see it. The second thing is they would say they have a very scientific process for assessing priorities on roads, and they do, but they manipulate it. And how they manipulate it is a thing called the road hierarchy. This doesn't go to the elected council. It's held by the paid body. I spoke to some councillors and said, did you know they changed this in 2019? No. That's one of the ways that they shaft you here, and they look after themselves there. You want to see a classic example? $6.3 million they just spent on
The Greens.
Thanks very much. Well, one thing that doesn't change from election to election is that roads are an issue. Roads are an issue for us all. But look, I have a slightly different take on it. I think council does have this big responsibility to maintain many roads throughout our LGA. It's a difficult job to prioritise the order in which roads need to be managed and when they need to be managed. Council does appear to be applying a fairly robust, and I read, an independent assessment that takes into account many factors to determine the roads for focus, including, the rate of use, safety, crossings, all sorts of factors. So look, of course, we'd all like to have the roads close to where we live, the roads we use and the roads we notice regularly to be improved. But, we're all one community, and we must try to understand that while not everything can be done immediately, and certainly not done all at once, we definitely need to be focusing on all the areas of our LGA, but to understand that, of course, not everything can be done everywhere all at once. Thanks.
So I live in Bonny Hills, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And I want to commend Justin for his clear research, doing a bit of background, and also invite conversations for Bonny Hills issues in the future as well. So for me, the big issue that comes down to here is less about us and them with Port Macquarie, and the fact that we've just had such a proliferation of population growth and poorly planned population growth and unsustainable development that hasn't been adequately supported by infrastructure. That's road infrastructure, but you all know that it's other types of infrastructure if you ever try and swim at Rainbow Beach after a storm. So strategically, I think it makes sense that the roads in this area will actually end up being prioritised in the near future because of the incredible population growth we've seen. It's not becoming an issue just of, residents going, oh, this isn't good enough. Actually, it's becoming unsafe, right? We've got Houston Mitchell, we'll talk about that later, but I've got a small child, lots of my peers are families with small children. We're trying to get around this beautiful area we live in, and addressing the roads in this area, Lake Caddo and Bonny Hills, will need to become a priority in order to be able to keep up with the huge population growth we've seen.
Thank you, folks. Adam Roberts here. I just want to firstly say that I'm really proud to be a member of Team Pinson. Peter is probably, I think, and having lived here since 1986, one of the best mayors we have ever had, and it's a privilege to be on her team. So with regards to the roads, we've been, I guess, talked about as the only team that wants to dip into the $340+ million that council has been stockpiling for the last 10 years. That money needs to go into proper road infrastructure, water, sewer projects to bring our society here up to a first world standard. We have the money to do it. Our team is committed to making it happen, and we've articulated our plan very clearly on how we'll do that. So we're going to prioritise the things that have been left for way too long, and we actually have a plan on how to fund it, and that is to unlock that money that has been stashed away, that community money that's been stashed away over the last 10 years. That stockpile has been growing nearly $20 million a year for the last 10 years. That is money that the community have paid through rates, the developers have paid through contributions. We don't have the water and sewer and infrastructure on the ground that money is supposed to be delivering. So Team Pinson is very strong on this point. We are campaigning on local issues, which are roads, potholes, all those things that we're talking about right now, and we have a plan to deliver it. Thank you.
We'll let,
That money is earmarked for certain projects. Hey, you're taking my words out of my mouth. Okay, there's $347 million in the council money. It is already earmarked, it is already spent. Effectively, it is already planned. I don't have the numbers in front of me. They're all available if you want them. It's just a furphy that there's $347 million that can be unlocked. Don't believe it? It's booked. Okay, what will we do? We would like to obviously improve the roads. I run a transport business. If we improve the roads, I save money and my business works better. Great. This area needs to be incorporated into the Ocean Drive strategy. At the moment, it's not. The Ocean Drive strategy ends at port. It needs to be brought down further. It's not a big issue. It's just a matter of planning. It's what Stuart knows a lot more about than I. As I said earlier in my brief introduction about myself, I want to be elected so I can take your point of view while I'm driving you around, talk to you, find out what you want, take it into council. I'm on the roads all day, every day. If there's a problem with the roads, I already know about it. I know where the traffic problems are.
write a reply from Team Shepherd.
I would simply like to advise that I'm going to have information that comes from council available to Hastings Residents Association to post to their Facebook page regarding the nature of the reserves and the impact of not appropriately using those reserves. It's been made publicly available in council papers, and experienced councillors would be well aware of that information, having seen it in council and made decisions on it.
Mayor Simpson.
Thank you. For 4 years, I was told nothing about why we couldn't spend the money and why it kept on growing. And it was to make us look good. It was to make us look financially fit for the future. When amalgamations were going on, it was to hoard and stockpile that money. That money has lost its dollar value whilst infrastructure has gone up in price. These other candidates here say it can't be done. You just watch us.
Okay. Do we have Cathie Reagan here, or is it Regan? I'm sorry. Cathie, if you come on up and ask your question, please.
Good evening, everyone. Maybe 43 years as a resident in Bonny Hills almost allows me to claim being a local. Almost. Bonny Hills Progress Association, together with members of the community, have been seeking an overpass at the intersection of Houston Mitchell Drive and the Pacific Highway. We have just finished compiling a 29-page document which details the population growth in the area and the ensuing traffic from that population growth, and that is impacting on the highway. while we understand the slip lanes are beneficial, that's not addressing the main issue out on that intersection, which is traffic crossing across the highway when they're turning north and traffic crossing coming from the south. That document can be viewed if you go to the Ghost Road Death Trap Facebook group. It's there to be seen. That was submitted to Council on the 3rd of November, and the motion at Council then was to change the strategic network plan priorities so that now the detailed designs for an intersection overpass are assured. We see this as inching forward on what is an urgent need at that intersection. So the question then is, how do candidates here view the urgency of that overpass, and what steps would you take to further the action and planning on construction? Thank you.
Thanks, Cathie.
Hastings first.
Okay, I'll swap mine. Can you hear me? I don't think it's mine. How about now? No. Yeah? Now? No. Can you hear me now? You might just have to speak loudly and I'll go and get someone to have a look at it first. You might be running out of time. Yeah? No? I think they're running out of time. Get a flat off of the bottom. Yeah. All right. Can you just speak loudly for a moment? And I'll speak loudly for a moment.
Very loud. I'm not a very good loudspeaker. But anyway, we'll have a go. So the Pacific Highway is obviously it's a state road. Grade separation is obviously the safest option for that intersection. And the current extensions of the slip lanes, they're a fantastic safety improvement on that intersection. You'd have to agree. While we would like to see that grade separation happen, we have to acknowledge that that is a state issue, and we don't support the council spending money to solve a problem there that is the state's responsibility to solve, because that money would be better spent on our current roads around this area than spending money on designing a grade separated option that's really for the states to fund and spend on. So we will support, though, our local MP to lobby for that grade separated intersection, and we'll support other people, MPs and community leaders to go out there and seek the state support to get that intersection completed.
Well done.
Thanks, Justin. It was actually turned off on the other end. And you're up next, John?
I'm up. What Cathie said there was absolutely spot on. What they're doing out there at the moment is just a band-aid solution. You look at our population growth, look at Gem Life, look at all of the overhead land and all the houses going over there. That's a lot more cars on the road. The only solution that is going to save lives is an overpass out there. As I said, I've been a news cameraman for 36 years. I've covered a lot of accidents out there. Unfortunately, there was a couple of fatalities, and that has a massive ripple effect on all of our community. The only way we're going to save lives is get an overpass, and if I'm fortunate enough to be elected by our community, I'll be lobbying as hard as possible to get that done.
Stephen Gates.
again, sorry. One of the challenges, one of the problems that contributed to it is that people are forced to use that road because the other road through Port Macquarie is so bad and choked up with traffic that they're going that way because it's quicker. That contributes to it. It's an absolute disgrace. There should be an overpass. If I was mayor, one of the things that I'd be doing is jumping on a plane, going to Sydney and going seeing the ministers and knocking on the door and shirt fronting them and saying, give us the money. Thank you.
The Green.
Yeah, I think it's urgent. It is a matter of life and death. I hate driving in that situation. And Greens have got a good relationship with Leslie Williams. We would support her. She says in this media release I'm holding here that she would continue to advocate for an overpass. I was with her at Harrington. I stood for the state election. We went to a meeting like this in Harrington, and Harrington put the case for their overpass, just the same situation. The school bus driver, 4 times a day, in and out in the morning and in and out in the afternoon. A horror story. Yes, it's necessary. It'll take 4 years or so for it to happen, so we have to get onto it as soon as possible.
Look, I think most of it's been said, and I'm not going to be short fronting anyone, but other than that, I think, the main points that have been said have been made. So I used to Metro at least once a week. I used to drive it as a teenager when I was going out to visit my boyfriend in Bonnie Hills, who's now my husband as well, and it was unsafe then. It's unsafe now. Overpass is the answer. So as Justin noted, really this isn't about spending council money, this is about appropriate advocacy, and we're very happy to be strong advocates for an overpass to be developed and delivered. It's entirely appropriate. It's now on the integrated transport strategy as a short-term priority. And of course, what will be needed as mayor is someone who's able to maintain a respectful and productive working relationship with our state member. And we need to make sure that we're not going to miss out on any opportunity for funding because we'll always be in office.
Dean Simpson.
Wow, Rachel, that was not very respectful. Because, yeah, no, that was not very respectful at all. But anyway, we'll move on. Okay, so that was a. I'll just bring you all in. That was a personal dig. It's a personal dig, and I'm just going to make something very clear. I'm just going to let you know. So Leslie and I was a huge supporter of Leslie Williams, and absolutely respected Leslie. She's done amazing work for this community, for this region, and still would never take that away from her. I made a fatal mistake though, and the fatal mistake was that I brought in, on behalf of the Progress Association, I brought in a request to lobby the state government about Houston Mitchell Drive. I did that in June of 2020. I was told that I'd thrown Leslie under the bus by Leslie. And I was really surprised at that because I thought we were working together, but I was told that it wasn't my issue. The thing is, Houston Mitchell Drive is a council road that abuts a state highway that federal government funds as well. So ever since that day, things have been really frosty. And those people who know it, they know it. The thing is, Leslie represents the same people that I currently represent as the mayor. We do need to work together. The thing is with this intersection is it's taken lives, it's claimed lives. All the state government has to do is fund the designs, and David Gillespie has already said that the federal government will stump up to pay for the overpass.
Irish Region. First of all, congratulations to the Bonnie Hills Progress Association. They've done an amazing job with that document. It's very well written, very well put together and laid out. A lot of the people here have already said it. State has 20% of the funding and federal has 80%. I would absolutely support the strategic transport network, making it a priority. Having that also gives us an opportunity to talk to the New South Wales Transport, as well as talking to Leslie. Those two have to produce the designs and the funding in order for federal to then step in and pay for the rest of the overpass. Getting it done is absolutely a must-have, a no-brainer. It's just got to happen.
Where's Roger Barlow? Come on up and ask a question, Roger.
Thank you. My introduction is I'm the current president of VHPA, or Bonnie Hills Progress Association. With the best of intention, about 3 or 4 years ago, probably, council went forward with a process of setting up what's now called CCAT for short, that is the Community Council Action Teams, and the task they were given was to develop community plans. So Lake Cathie has one, we have one, and there are quite a large number of them. What they, with the best of intentions, this was a way of marrying up the expectations of communities with, parallel involvement of council. What they've done is they've got a tiger by the expectations of the community now are unable to be met by the resources that council has, either to run those CCATs or help run those CCATs or deliver on what are the actions in those. So my question to the people here is, what would you do to marry up the what's now become, quite, I think it's quite an issue, because we have these expectations, whole list of actions that are to be delivered by whatever time frame has been put into them, but council is literally not able to service that list of expectations or even really service the running of those CCATs.
Hastings first.
Thanks, Roger. Great question. And I'm actually the president of the North Shore Progress Association, and we've got a lovely plan too that actually was done in 2019. I know Bonnie Hills, Camden Haven have theirs. They're all dated about 2019, 2020. Great documents. And we were told we needed to have these consultations, so these projects would go into the operation plan. I agree with Roger. Things have got bigger and bigger. Council resources probably don't allow us to have these close meetings, and what has been our community has accused the CCAT of not listening. You're not listening to what we want. And for the North Side plan, we had a footpath that was put in there, so we don't want a footpath. We needed other things because our main priority, like everybody else, is a road, a decent road. So I think it's called Start Again. There's a lot of people who have moved into our area who might bring bright, fresh ideas, so we can start again. And I've got to say, council have acknowledged they've got it wrong sometimes. So let's all start together, go forwards, and actually see what new things that we can bring to these council plans. Because I agree, it's really important that we get the money into the operational plans, because that's the only thing as community. That's the only way as communities will see these outcomes. So let's start again in the teamwork, going together and seeing what new things we can bring up that are fit for purpose right now. Thank you.
John Bailey.
Yeah, I believe CCATs are crucial to the council. Our council is governing at the most grassroots level as you get, and it's all about community. Our council should be listening to community, prioritising what community wants, and trying to get the best result for our ratepayers' dollar. Thank you.
Stephen Gates.
Thank you. What I'm hearing the CCATs have become is an embarrassment to the committee members that formed them, who, with the best of intentions, said to the community, give us your thoughts and we'll put it forward, and with the belief that it would be done, and it hasn't been done. And now you're in such an invidious position. I went to the committee meetings in Comboyne for hours at Viabarrow and made a decision to not join because council would not consult. All it wanted to do was communicate with us on what they wanted and not hear what the community wanted. And I wouldn't be a part of that. So I think we do, hearing what you say, go back and start again and deliver something fairly quickly. Thank you.
The Greens.
Thanks. Yeah, look, it's interesting hearing everybody who's taken part in these CCATs talk here tonight. What looks like, and when you read the documents, really promising, positive, cooperative structure whereby community aspirations are flowing to council, but also taking on board that you're saying, they're perhaps not as effective as they should be or need to be begun again. It's imperative that there is something like that there is a mechanism like that happening so that all the townships, all the areas in our LGA can feed in, their needs and their aspirations to council. And it's imperative that they do make it to the operational plan. That is kind of the key. That is the key to everything. Doesn't matter what document you look at council, what plan's been made, in every instance, unless you see that translated into the delivery program and into the operational plans, it's not going to happen. So I would like to see, if I was on council, that we're getting this quality feedback from the community and their aspirations, but that we are also translating that into real projects, expectations, and that we make sure that it's happening, spread out throughout our LGA, so every area is getting improvements. Something to look forward to every year in the operational plan.
Thanks for the question. So in theory, I think CCATs are a brilliant model in theory, and the issue is how we bring them to life. The theory of having a between council and community, I think, is really valuable because you've got a way for council to put information to knowledgeable members, but then ideally that's the conduit to the further community to both help understand the relevance of what council's saying, but also to be giving info back. So in terms of developing our own community engagement policy, this is something I've been thinking about, looking at and talking to people a bit. And the key problems I see are two. Number one, breakdowns in communication from council about what's actually happening and how different it might be for community members if you actually knew that your input was going somewhere, or at least if it was being held up, how and why, and when it's going to change. But the other key problem, I think, is that it still relies on the same community service and engagement veterans doing the same work over and over, and it's not sustainable in the long run. So in terms of solutions, what I see as the long-term solutions, one is a bit easier, one's a lot harder. First one is closing the loop of communication, making it a priority to make sure that CCAT members know that what they've said has actually been heard and something's happening with it, and get report back on what happened. The second part, much bigger, is there needs to be, across all sorts of service organisations, a way to get younger people in.
Hi everyone, my name is Danielle Montman. You may also know me as President of Revive Lake Cathie, and I'd like to acknowledge all of the Revive Lake Cathie members here tonight and everyone for coming. It's great to see such a turnout for Lake Cathie here tonight, and Peter up for that. In relation to CCAT, I'm actually a member of the Lake Cathie CCAT. Initial stages, I was very concerned about what was going on in CCAT and the tokenistic nature of it, so much so that I asked council, could I speak to the other CCAT members of all the other locations, which was declined. So I absolutely support what Roger's put forward in terms of looking at CCAT, and in principle, it has got a lot of positive aspects to it. And what I would like to see is that we could have down the track the items underneath the CCATs put in budgets in council and made priorities to fund. Thanks.
David Crowley.
I bet you're surprised to see me up here. I'm directing that as a gentleman who wrote the question, because we've had many, well, not many, but meetings over this very issue. As everybody said, great idea. It's the implementation that's the problem. The trouble with CCAT is it was driven by the council and the plan beyond developing the plan. It's like we say in the RFS, having a plan, the plan is not a plan. Well, that's where we're at with the CCAT. I didn't see any mechanism beyond developing the plan. Now, the plans are crucial because they're community-based. What you want in Lake Cathie is different to what we want in the North Shore and Comboyne, you guys. Right? There's great organisations out there. The CCAT team brought all the organisations around, the surf clubs, everybody into the room, said, what do we want as a guide to our communities? Council right now has at least 4, I think, plans completed. You probably help me with this. I'm pretty sure it's 4 plans in place now. And they're great documents. Now, don't forget, they're not concrete. They're fluid documents that we build on and as a credit. So we don't need to restart, for God's sake. I don't want to go through that again. But we always develop them and go on. What happened in council was the drivers left. Sky Frost and those particular crucial people disappeared. And I noticed a definite, then the new people came in, went across at relearning. So as council, certainly our team, we're committed to this because it's a great project. It just needs the right mechanism to get it going. And we're totally committed to it, 100%.
Where is Bob Small? Bob?
Glasses and hearing aids and masks gets a bit tangled behind there. My name's Bob Small. I don't think I need to say where I'm coming from for this question, so I'll go straight into it. But what are your intentions in regard to managing the Lake Innes, Cathie Creek and Lagoon system now and in the future? How would you manage urban runoff in current and future developments, monitor and respond to hazardous water quality, and ensure the environmental health of the overall area? Will you endeavour to intervene with the relevant authorities? And I can tell you there's a bloody bucket full of them. Will you endeavour to intervene with the relevant authorities to ensure its social, economic and biodiversity value?
Oh boy, what a complex one this one is, and I'm not an environmental scientist, so I'm waiting for some responses from the people that are. However, thanks Bob for the question. I did a little bit of digging into this myself. I believe, according to a legal document that I was reading, the Minister for Regional Water appoints water management committees for all the areas in New South Wales. At least 2 representatives of environmental protection groups have to be on the committee. At least 2 representatives of water user groups. At least 2 representatives of local council. At least 1 person nominated by local land services. At least 2 Aboriginal members representing the interest of Aboriginal people. At least 1 employee of the Department of Primary Industries and Water, and at least 1 member nominated by the Minister for Environment. Now, what I want to know is, does that Water Management Committee then report back to Council? So that I don't know, but I think this is part of the problem and has always been the problem. Maybe Bob can confirm that, and Danielle can possibly confirm that. So these are the things that we need to find out, because from the operational point of view, it's a nightmare. Thank you.
John Bailey.
I'm certainly not going to pretend that I know the answer to this one. There's a lot more smarter people in the room than I am, that's for sure. But I'm certainly willing to go with the science, and I obviously know the sentiment of the community after doing story after story, year after year after year. So I'm more than prepared to go with back the community.
Okay.
You must be much shorter than me, John.
I'm a halfback.
What I would say is, and in so many of these talks, I echo what John has said, and I really applaud John to you for consideration as councillor. I think it's going to be very important. I would say what he said. I'm not the expert, and I take that advice. I've done a lot of reading on it, and for me, this is one of the most important features of Lake Cathie, and it's one of the features that I love and my kids love. I understand why you're committed to it. There's an issue to who owns it, but my philosophy is simple. If it's council responsibility, then we need to drive that. There's a budget line for it in the internal reserves. If it's an external issue, you'll get the same passion for me fighting for you as I would for the overpass to make it safe. Thank you.
The Greens.
Thank you for this question. The Greens believe that council and community have or are developing through the Lake Cathie Community Plan, the coastal management plans, forums such as the Community Council Action Teams, hopefully a more unified approach to managing Lake Cathie estuary. I know it's a really difficult issue for everyone concerned. In general, the Greens support a sustainable strategy for the estuary. It recognises that Lake Cathie is an intermittently closed and open lake and lagoons system, but it has been compromised by development around the estuary. The management of the system must balance the needs of the community as well as the important ecological values of the estuary. In council, the Greens would ensure absolute best practice in managing the quality of urban runoff, and we believe that the most appropriate direct intervention should be limited to opening the estuary when flooding threatens assets, which is already the case, and for dredging of the bed of the estuary east of the Ocean Drive Bridge. The closure of the notch connecting Lake Innes should also be further investigated. And yes, council should continue to liaise closely with state government agencies to ensure its social, economic and biodiversity values. Thank you. Thanks for the question. Look, I think Revive Lake Cathie themselves have done a great job on this. And this morning I had a look at the 2021 strategic framework that you guys have put together with those 4 pillars of monitoring the replacement of the Kenwood Drive bridge in some form, dredging of part of the lake, and advocacy going forward. And I think that the key for council going forward is in education, because when you look at residents, you look at people washing their cars, that going into the lake, you look at pesticides, you look at chemical use, fertilisers, that all affects the biology of the lake, and that's causing part of the problem. The siltation from development, of course, is a massive issue, and that's the problem, and that needs to be, with sustainable development, looked at a lot further. And I think also the community could have like one of those road signs which gives the health of the lake to not only yourselves but to visitors in real time, because you do a great job monitoring it. It's about how you communicate the health of the lake to the rest of the community. And absolutely, if we are elected to council, it is about advocacy to other levels of government, because it's too important an asset to ignore. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I'm really excited, really excited about this, because if I'm re-elected and I actually have a supportive team with me, we can actually start on some real solutions. We have a dredging strategy that is really out of date. It's 2007. Go on the website, look at it for yourself. The priority of dredging Lake Cathie, low. So if it's low, it's never going to happen. Anything low, Stephen Gates will tell you, if your road being rehabilitated is low and it's on that hierarchy low down, it's never going to happen. The other thing is that ike holes open and close intermittently. Yes, they do. But you know what? We're not the only one with one in the state of New South Wales. Narrabeen Lagoon has a plan of management. It's actually registered under a trust, under a reserve trust, through Crown Lands. It's an act to get that there. It speaks about all the things. I'm running out of time now. I'll have to come back with one of the other questions. It speaks of all those things that everyone here has just spoken about. We actually have a framework here on how we will manage our for amenity. Why can't we? I'll come back with the others.
Private for our region.
Thank you. In answer to this question, the first and most important matter must be to speed up the process of delivering and finalising the catchment management plan. That has to be comprehensive, cover all the matters that that has been raised in this question. I go to a couple of specifics in here. How would you manage urban runoff in current and future developments? In my opinion, gross pollutant traps and wetland systems definitely have a critical place in this. That's the best way to keep pollutants out of the lake. How would we monitor and respond to hazardous water quality? Well, obviously, for council to get some responsibility for hazardous water quality. As it stands, it's with the Department of Health, and they have no action trigger for them to act. The best thing I liked was, will you endeavour to intervene with the relevant authorities to ensure its social, economic and biodiversity value? I believe our team offers the best possibility here of a skill set of people who can, in fact, take an active role in the lake and intervene. Kingsley Searle, who's been on the catchment management, the coastal management committee. I've got a science degree. Stuart Cooper lives here. Intervene with the authorities is the goal that we will be taking in order to ensure that we can get past the silos that there are between council and the various state governments. Thank you.
Is Peter Fitzroy here? Ah, right at the back.
Good evening, everybody. Before I start, Lake Cathie has in this area one unique characteristic. Does anybody know what it is? Besides being a lake. Actually, it is an absence. There are no mangroves in the Lake Cathie system. Now, if you had mangroves, of course, that wouldn't count through the mangroves. But my question, which follows on from Lisa's response, is what guarantees are we going to have that this time we're going to fully implement the CMP? I report back to the CZMP, which we haven't done anything for yet. We're planning to start in December when it finishes. And that's my question. What are we going to do about the CMP?
Hastings first.
It's a great question. I love getting out in my kayak and going out the back reaches of Lake Cathie, and it's simply beautiful going around the marshes. So clearly this is, the coastal area around here is one of the most sensitive and open parts of the coast in the LGA. It is under the most threat from development and pressure from development. And I think not just our area, but much wider now from the other night on, was it Four Corners? It's of high interest to many people, which is great. So it needs to be done, but more than that, it has to have clarity around it and adherence to it. It needs to be an essential part of it, as an essential part of our community expectations, not just here, but throughout the whole LGA. It's what's expected by the community. And Ethan said, in the next 50 years, we need to have just this beautiful space, just as it is now.
John Bailey.
Coastal management plan is critical. The environment, the sustainability of our environment is critical. We all live here and we all love the place because of the beauty of it. We need to look after our coast. What was I going to say? Yeah, we just, it's raining. That's what I was going to say. Isn't that great? What council does do is a lot of talking and not much action. It's about listening to the community and putting things into action. So that's what we need to do, like get something happening.
David Gay.
Thank you. I did read the draft 2016 coastal management plan. I would say it made the most sense to me. I'm quite a coastal person. One thing I do share with everyone else is why are these being drafted and then not finalised and implemented? It is just unacceptable that it takes 5 years to go from this to doing nothing. And you see that all the time. Council need to have, the paid council need to have a bit more drive to them and a focus on getting things done. And that doesn't exist. And I think one of the changes that needs to come in through the CEO is a performance-based culture and drive that through to a low level. Thank you.
The Greens.
Thank you for this question. The Greens would give priority to the Lake Cathie Bonnie Hills Coastal Management Plan being completed. But we believe all CMPs should be given urgent attention as we face the impacts of global warming, which will particularly impact our coastal regions due to rising sea levels, more intense storm surges, and greater floods from more intensive rainfall in the catchment. So yes, we believe getting these CMPs done to address those issues is critical. Thank you.
So I believe we can commit to the Lake Cathie and Bonnie Hills Coastal Management Plan being the first one completed, and partially because my understanding is it's first on the list, and to extend on that, then it should be, because it's the first on the list for a reason. Not only are they really sensitive lands, but it's a really complex economic, social, and environmental issue in terms of the impacts on our communities here. People love being out in this place, and why wouldn't you? But we need to do it in a really way, and how we manage this space needs to be driven from a policy level, and then enforced when it comes to things like the four-wheel driving and whatnot as well. We're going to get specific, but our area would be seeing that delivered. Look it up, Narrabeen Lagoon Reserve Trust. Look it up. I beg of you to look it up. But in regards to the CMP, Coastal Management Plan, why would we be spending ratepayers' money on the CZMP, which the government has extended for another 2 years? Why wouldn't they? Because it's a dollar for dollar investment, $1 of our money and $1 of state government's money, which effectively is our money too. So we're paying $2 for everything that we do. The thing is, the CMP will be a 2-for-1 deal as far as council is concerned. And these are the things of all our coastland that we will be doing over many, many years to protect our coastlines and estuaries. The thing with the lagoon, though, it needs to be treated as its own special entity. We really need to focus on what we're going to do, not just for hazard reduction, to reduce risk, but also for the amenity, the recreation, the enjoyment of future generations to come. There's a lot of work to do ahead of us. Thank you.
Coastal Management Program, that's something near and dear to my heart. We exposed that should have started back in 2016. We didn't get it started until 2020. So we're behind the 8 ball. But it needs to be driven. It's got to have focus on it, and it's got to be driven. If it's not driven, there's no reporting back to the community. It just languishes, and it'll end up like the CZMP where nothing actually happens. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we need to actually start to look at streamlining. So how can we actually speed this process up? What things can actually happen at the same time in parallel rather than doing everything end to end? Some of these processes that we have to go through as part of this, which is state mandated, actually take quite a long time, partly because you've got to wait for the funding, then you've got to go out to tender, and then you actually got to start the work. How can we actually look at streamlining that process? Can we work with the local member to actually get some action happening where that process is actually speeded up? Thank you.
Is Kate Ashton here?
I'm not that tall either. There's a lot of tall things. I'm Kate Aston. I am a member of Revive Lake Cathie and been involved with a fair bit of the negotiations of looking at what's happening with our Lake Innes Lake Cathie estuarine system, because it's not just one part. My question tonight, before I ask it, I hear a lot of saying here tonight between council doesn't do this, council doesn't do that. I think we need to start and bring into the conversation and understand what they're doing, and when they're writing different policies and programs, how are the councillors going to know what's going on from the information they get fed up the line? To clarify what the CZMP is and the CMP, the CZMP is the Coastal Zone Management Plan. It came into effect in 2016, and Port Macquarie Council's known since then that they were supposed to have that completed by December 2021. So it's not something new. The staff knew that they had to put that into plan, and I'd be right, would I, in saying that's 2 council terms? Yes? Not just this term. It was prior to this term. So it's not something new.
The council turned over in 2016 and then 2017, so it's just a little bit more than a term.
So we started the process back in 2011, 12.
Yeah, but that's when it came into the act. So it was supposed to run out in December 2021. Peter mentioned that it's been extended now by the state government for 2 years. You'll ask, what's the use and where does that all come in? So the CMP is the Coastal Management Plan that came in 2016 as well, which is supposed to take over from the CZMP, but now it's been extended out, as I said. So how do they all work together? Illaroo Road is part of my question, was part to do with what the Coastal Zone Management Plan was. It was to be finished in December 21, but it's been extended out. We still haven't got the answers to what happened. It's not good for their health. What's not good for their health either is walking around and seeing what our lake's like, whether it be mental health, physical health, environmental health. So all these things are tied into one, and my question comes, what is going to happen if you are elected to help improve the outcome of Illaroo Road and the CZMP and fast track the CMP, the Coastal Management Plan?
Thank you very much. It's not a bad height here for the microphone for myself, short as well. There is a plan already in place, which you'll find on the Port Macquarie Hastings Council website in relation to work to be done. The proposed revetment wall for Illaroo Road concerning this Lake Cathie region. So at this stage, we're moving along, and it all depends on who you vote in to make sure that things get done in council, that we can work together. February 2022 is the next workshop to assess the coastal management options. April 2022, report to council meeting with options for adoption, and then by July 2022, commence the implementation, the funding, the approvals, and on-ground outcome as well. So we're looking forward as a team, whoever gets in, in getting involved in that and pushing forward with that at this point in time with the plan that's already been set aside. I've also been advised the state member offered some financial support for the revetment wall, and that was not accepted at this stage, not quite sure why. And that's been the case with a couple of other projects as well. So again, that's something we look forward to, better relations and more working cohesively and unified coming up in 2022. Thank you.
John Bailey.
A real common theme here tonight is a lot of projects that have been talked about for years and years and years and no action. For those of you who've been here for a long time, I remember doing stories 10, 15 years ago in the community hall down here, where council put up all pretty pictures of groins, revetment walls, whatever. Still nothing done today. Illaroo Road, is that a council asset? Yes, it is. Well, let's look after it. Let's get some action happening instead of way too many papers, strategic plans, too much talking. It's time for some action, guys.
Stephen Gates.
Thank you. One thing I certainly disagree with is the trying to put a cost imposition onto ratepayers who reside at Illaroo Road. This council, the one that's in, has a you will pay for your service philosophy. And it's really clear. I've seen numerous examples of it. The issue you have at Illaroo Road is a much broader issue. And if I look at roads such as Elfords Road, Fernbank Creek Road, Pattonborough Road, Ennis Road, Rollins Plains Road, they have exactly the same issue caused by the same broad issue, which is rivers rising, floods coming through, all completely outside of their control. It's all eating through the road. You are the test case. Stand up to council, don't pay, you shouldn't have to pay. If you pay, then the rest of the ratepayers in the same region who live on a river with riverbank erosion is going to pay exactly the same. I do not agree with it. Thank you.
Agree.
Thanks for the question, everyone. I'm going to be a little bit different on that. While I agree with a lot of the stuff that Nick said and John and Stephen have said, first I wanted to say I've got a lot of sympathy for the people that this affects. This is an absolutely diabolical problem. I've studied this for the last couple of days to try and respond to this question and looked at what's happening with coastal retreat all around Australia and all around the world. We are seeing the effects of climate change. I've looked at the survey that council had done, the report that they had done, and to this diabolical problem, the cost-benefit analysis that was rejected by the community, okay? The plan that council's going forward, they're going to have consultation going forward, which is really good, but the actual cost-benefit analysis had two solutions, and two solutions happening all around the world. We either defend or we retreat. We put up a revetment wall or we move away. This is the honest truth. And the real solution, long-term solution, is mitigation. We can adapt and put up a revetment wall. We can adapt and put sand on the beach again, or we can mitigate and act on climate change. The Greens will be the best group within the new council to make sure that we have local action on climate change to give a future to the coast for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you.
Yeah, so it is a test case in more ways than one, I think, raised by both Stephen and the Greens. Thanks, Stuart. I think it's really reasonable that community members aren't even being shoved with twice as much of the costs of the revetment wall than what they're due pro rata. And look, it's a particularly hard position, right? Because if you end up paying even your fair share, so to speak, if we are talking about 90 centimetres of sea level rise, which is what council has formally resolved to accept is going to happen, what we're looking at is
potential erosion that's going to be quite extensive, and there's going to be huge swathes of our coastline that's going to be affected by that. So I'm very committed to participation and making sure there's active and engaged and informed community participation and council participation in the workshop that's happening in February next year. And I welcome further discussion about this personally with anyone who would like to talk about it and share their experiences and insights. Again, the Narrabeen Lagoon Plan of Management. Why do I keep bringing this up? Because this document talks to what we're experiencing right here at the moment. Narrabeen Lagoon is dredged quite frequently. In fact, the trust puts $1 million a year to maintaining their beach enjoyment and their lagoon enjoyment. If we manage our lagoon properly, we can add sustainably and naturally to the beach on Lighthouse Beach, which means we will take between 20,000 and 30,000 cubic. The more we dredge, the less we are going to see the marine shift sands coming back in and silting up, because the natural scour of the base of the lagoon will take care of itself. I see you shaking your head, madam, but it's in here. It's all in here. Please go and have a look at it for yourself.
Okay, we don't have time for any more questions. If you want to get some questions answered, get them to me. Oh, I'm sorry. Team Midas for our region, yeah.
Greg's very keen for me to finish up, I think. Yeah. Just a couple of clarifying things. The Coastal Zone Management Plan actually looks after east of Ocean Drive. So it's the coast, it's the lagoon, it covered the revetment wall, it covered dredging. What it didn't cover and should have been included is the lake opening. The Coastal Management Act, which was written in 2016 but didn't come into effect until 2018, is what we're now, the process that we're having to go through with this whole coastal management program and all these studies that now have to be done. If the CZMP had included the lake opening, we would have been able to manage things a lot better than what we've been able. The other thing is dredging. So Coastal Zone Management Plan includes a dredging strategy as part of that. It says there's an estimate of 5 to 10 years for it to be dredged. The actual DA that council has a specified minimum 5 years before they will dredge. So they last did it 2018, next one's 2023. They've now applied for another one to have a hazard trigger, and that's a whole different story. With regard to Illaroo Road, I was involved and actually organised for the residents to fight the council on that one, where they were going to be hit with basically most of the quarter. You've got stormwater outlets that are actually eroding the beach, and say that the residents have to cough it up. And by the way, you're also going to have to pay for footpaths and lighting. So any plan that we come up with in terms of a solution, and I believe council's now on the right track for that, has to involve the residents. It can't involve the residents having to cough up 100% of the money. And in fact, if I had my way, they wouldn't pay anything. This is a council and a state issue. It's not a resident issue. It's the residents that are actually suffering because of it. There is a solutions exercise that's been going on in the background. There is a community workshop that's going to be happening in March 2022 to consider the options and also the community values that people have already lodged with Have Your Say. And the plan is for that to go back to council in May 2022 and for implementation to come out in July 2022. Okay. What we've got to do is actually make sure that that does happen.
Thank you. Okay, we'll have a very quick 2-minute summation from each of the teams and then we can go home. Starting with Hastings first.
Okay, thank you again for your patience this evening. I know there's been a lot of people up here having a chat and trying to encourage you to vote for them. Just a quick show of hands. Have you already decided who you might vote for coming from pre-polling or, yeah, interesting. Thank you very much. All right, so Hastings first. It's not a political party. 5 passionate, community-minded, independent members with various time periods living in the local area from 5 years through to 40 plus. So when you're looking at voting for a team, certainly look for Group B, vote 1, and only Group B, for Lipovac, Kerry Fox, Linda Lord, Michael Clark, and Justin Hardy. Myself for Mayor, amongst the 5 of us that are running for that, which is going to be very tightly contested, again, I would advise you to vote 1, just put the 1 in my box being Nick Lipovac. Don't look for Nick or Nick James, that's not going to help you. So Lipovac, nice and easy. Sydney born and bred many years ago, travelled around the country through my media work, through Goulburn, Lithgow in the Blue Mountains, down to Tassie, up to Coffs, and here for the last 18 years. We know what matters. We've been listening to the community for the past few months. We know how much rates annoy people in terms of what they're getting back for what they're paying. The road situation, we know that matters. We need to get them fixed and prioritise what needs to get done. Koalas, the corridors need to remain open. We can't destroy any more of their land as well, their trees. Connected communities, we know how much the Camden Haven and the Wauchope don't feel like they're part of the Port Hastings region. So we need to make sure that everyone is involved and feels like they're taking part and a big part of the Hastings future. Economic development, very important for the region, of course. Local business, putting them first. Quite often you'll find that council shops outside to buy their products. They encourage you to buy and shop local, but they don't do it themselves. Affordable housing. We're certainly giving developers lots of opportunity to put up these fantastic homes and developments, but we're forgetting about the locals who can't afford the big new fandangled homes. So we need more planning for affordable housing. Pedestrian access. We know how important that is in terms of ensuring you have a footpath. The natural amenities and the environment, we need to ensure we save those. Sporting amenities, we have more people. We need to ensure we're up to date with that. Sustainable development also matters. We need that balance between, we know we can't stop progress, but we need those open spaces as well. So thank you very much. Vote 1 for Lipovac for Mayor, and Group B, vote 1, Lipovac, Fox, Lenord, Clark and Hardy. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Bailey. I haven't been listening to the community for the last few months. I've been listening to the community for the last 40 years. And that's why I've decided to run for council as an independent. I think the community doesn't get listened to enough. Over those years, I've seen councils come and go. I've seen developers on council. I've seen personal interest groups on council. Well, council's not about that. Council's about you guys. It's about ratepayers. And I want to see the best outcomes and the best results for our community. So on election day, if you could find your way to vote below the line and number your boxes, we're at a critical point in the Hastings now where our population growth is going to explode. We need to get our infrastructure in. We've got to stop talking about our common themes tonight that have been going on for years and years. We need to get some action happening now before it's too late, and unfortunately our kids and populations behind us have to fix the mess up that we're leaving them.
Again, my support for John Bailey for councillor. Be conscious of that. One of the things we talked about, and I think you were going to give me a bit of latitude, was GIPR applications, and it came from the mayor, and the mayor said how council would review it, and blah, blah. Well, I filed 19 GIPR applications against this council. Councillors spent $100,000 defending why they should not give me and the community policies, budgets, reasons why, how they're doing road repairs, the basis of that, asset registers, and it goes $100,000. The most recent one I put to them in July, they approved and said, you need to pay us 50% of $4,200. I sold 2 cows and I gave them $2,100 in cash. And then 2 weeks later, they turned around and said, no, we're not going to give you the documents anymore. So when we talk about transparency and accountability, that's what we're talking about. Bit of a wild night out there tonight. One of the things it reminded me of when I drove along the coast, seeing the white-capped waves, was day 3 on my Trans-Tasman Road from New Zealand back to Australia. Day 3, we got hit by a storm similar to this, and we spent 2 days in the cabin, and I wondered if I was going to die. And every time I see the ocean with whitecaps, that's my memory. So, pretty unfortunate. I did survive. We did set the record, 32 days back to Australia. And then the next year I walked to the South Pole as well, 1,100 kilometres, and managed to survive that. So have a look at our website. We've got an 8-page policy document and interest that explains everything about how we're going to focus on local businesses, development, deal with council, put performance measurement systems in place from the CEO downwards, specific examples as to what they should be and why. And importantly, I mean, you go onto our website, gates for pmhcmayor.com, have a look at it. One thing I will promote is this Saturday, come to Combine. We have a presentation with the community from 6 till 7:30 p.m. We launch our 15 podcast series, which is the result of 3 years of investigation of council. If you ever wanted to know what you're not being told and what you should know, we explain it to you. If you want to know why that road is not being repaired, I set it out for you and I'll show you what they've done and how they manipulate it. If you want to know how special rate variations have been used or not used or ripped off, I point it out to you on a fact-based analysis. It's pretty simple. And then we'll look at why your roads are failing and why they've been failing for 20 years and not improved. And I'll show you that it's actually in council's interest for their roads to be bad. Sounds counterintuitive. I'll explain why at that meeting. We also look at sports fields, why you're treated worse off, why your roadside vegetation here is done differently to port, where theirs is based on appearance, yours is based on risk. We go through rubbish collection, we go through an argument for a 20% reduction in rates, and I'll set out the calculations for you. It's very detailed. And if you can't come to Combine, it'll be on my webpage. We'll be drip feeding them down so you can look at it at your own time and see what we're talking about. Thank you very much.
The Greens.
Thanks very much for your time here tonight, folks, for coming out to come and meet and listen to your prospective councillors. I'm Lauren, Stuart, Drusy and Les from the Greens, and look, there's a Greens councillor on most all councils throughout New South Wales now. The Greens really do bring that transparency, sustainability and fairness to all aspects and decisions. I also think after listening to a few Meet the Candidates now, we have one more tomorrow, but look, I think it's quite important that people do perhaps think about voting below the line. It would be good to see a fantastic new council, and I think there are a lot of good kids here, but I think perhaps voting below the line and really thinking about the individual you've met and what they stand for, because council should be a little bit like the Senate, as far as I'm concerned. I think the council should be a group of individuals from this community willing to work together for what you guys really want. I don't kind of like the sound of all this sort of block voting stuff starting to sort of hear, and I think that that's not in your best interest. So think about what you've heard from individuals and vote below the line.
That's great. I'd just like to add that it's okay to vote Green. There's 34 Greens councillors around New South Wales, including mayors. They've done some great things for our community. When I listen to the policies that other people put up here, I'm really heartened that climate change and sustainability is part of it. As a group, we've worked with the community and closely with the council, and we feel we have influenced the council on the climate change and sustainability strategy going forward. And if elected, we would make sure that that's a priority. We communicate, cooperate, be collegiate, and compromise. Give us a go. We won't let you down.
Yes, think about your children and your grandchildren. I have a newspaper. I've got plenty of them here if you're interested. It's printed in Sydney because being a party, right throughout the state. So if you're interested to know more about the Greens, come and get a newspaper off me. Oh, and Les doesn't want.
Ken Shepherd.
Okay. So we've talked about supporting below the line as well, and when you've got candidates like John, it's easy, hey? So if you are doing that, make sure you're keeping us in mind as well. We've got a whole fantastic team, and you'll notice that we've only got 4 people. And a part of the reason for that is we don't need a majority to get through our policies, and I'll tell you why. Everything that we bring to this council is sensible, it's reasonable. And as someone with a long experience working with a range of people, I've got a fantastic track record of being able to work productively and generatively with people. So I'm sure no matter who the councillor body is that gets in, as mayor, I will be fabulously placed to make sure that we can get results for our community, because I'm able to bring together different perspectives so we can make better decisions for our community. When we only have one set of perspectives in place, what that means is we get a decision that only reflects those perspectives. The need or the skill to be able to negotiate, compromise, and genuinely hear and incorporate the different opinions of others is a critical skill of the mayor if we're going to get great results for our community. So, December 4, vote 1 for Rachel Shepherd for Sensible Sustainable Progress, and Group E for Council.
Ian Simpson.
Thank you all for staying the course. It's been a really long night. I'm just going to say that I'm really honoured to stand with 4 amazing people, and I make up the 5th. It all sounds very good to work harmoniously and, you know, we don't need the numbers. I'm a realist. Adam's a realist, he's been through it, and Sharon's a realist, she's been through it. And Danny and Josh, they're going to come for the journey with us. But the reality is, if I can just be honest, that there are 9 councillors. Without the majority vote, nothing happens. Without 5 in the chamber serving your interest, it gets blocked, it gets constipated, we get report after report, there's paralysis by analysis, and we end up with a disgruntled community thinking their council is not working for them. I promise you, I left my business to work for you 4 years ago, and I have 7 days a week. And I offer myself up again to be a servant leader with these amazing humans with me and anyone else that is elected. And I too think John is an awesome candidate. And he's gone alone, and more power to you for that, John. Much respect.
Clyde is for our reason.
Thank you. In closing tonight, I would firstly like to, of course, thank everyone for being here. Yes, we have a fantastic group of candidates who are standing, but I'd specifically like to thank Greg for organising these. You might not know, but Greg's efforts in holding these forums was mentioned in Parliament, and I'd like to thank Lisa Williams for acknowledging that. But Greg, thank you very much for your assistance. We've got a mayoral, he's putting on a mayoral forum on the 23rd of November, and we've got a chamber one tomorrow night. The team that I'm standing with, we are in fact all individuals. We've decided that we are absolutely not committed to going in there with conceived ideas, with the exception of we are dedicated to improving communication in council. We are dedicated to improving partnerships both within council and externally. I believe that there has been inaction in council. I am standing for mayor because, in my opinion, in order to get to the root causes of what is going wrong in there, you need a mayor who will be hands-on and get to those root causes and then come back and communicate
with the councillors so that we can get best answers going forward. We also, just to sign off on some other things, we also we're not into block voting. We're absolutely into teamwork, honesty, commitment, and everybody else has been talking about voting for them. I'm going to suggest that in the mayoral ballot, it's optional preferential. Everybody's been saying vote one for me in the mayoral ballot. I would suggest that if you want your vote to actually guaranteed count, vote for at least 3 preferences in the mayoral ballot. That's the small ballot paper. Large one for councillors, small mayoral ballot paper, and I would suggest that you vote for at least 3 preferences. I'm Lisa Interman, standing for Mayor with Team Interman, 4 of my great team here tonight, and we're looking for your vote because we absolutely want less talk, more action in council. Thank you.
Can you please thank all our candidates for coming tonight? Now, I know there are more questions. If you want to get them to me, we'll make sure we get answers published online. And there's a petition against the wall for the ruined flag. Thank you all for coming and trying not to get wet.
Thanks, Greg. Well organised. There's only one candidate. You didn't have to adjust it. Hi, Rachel. Sorry, I didn't pick up on who you were. Scratching your head. Yeah, I know you. Where you going? Not everybody. I suspect this is the problem. Well, it can be, but it's self-interest. Probably, yeah. Good question. Good debate, yes. A lot of buzzwords. Well, when you hear those candidates coming up with the same words, the English language well, I was watching the press conference today with the vice treasurer, and but he was running out of words. So, No, I'll have to tell you what. It'll be interesting to see what the last year or so. One of the responsibilities is to monitor the council and what's going on with the lake. And
what I've noticed is yeah, sure. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, M stream. The stream will stop. And